As we welcome our audience on ABC Sport Digital and on Queensland News Radio to the mighty Adelaide Oval. It is Game 3 of the Gather Round weekend. All 18 teams in one place as the footy universe has gathered in Adelaide. Corbin Middlemass alongside Clint Weldon, Cameron Ling, Josh Franco and Aaron Bryans, your call team tonight. No late change. Jace Burgoyne is the sub for Port Adelaide and Nick Hind is the sub for Essendon. Both teams are out on the ground. The Port Adelaide theme song playing in the background. The stands are filling up. All 9 matches sold out. 2 matches complete. Melbourne by 15 points over Adelaide last night. Keziah Pickett handed a 1-match sanction by the match review officer today. And in the match just completed, the first leg of the Friday night doubleheader, it was Brisbane by 70 points over North Melbourne in front of 9,037. And you can't fit too many more in on the parade in the suburban ground in Norwood. So a huge roll-up as Joe Danaher kicked 5 and Eric Hipwood kicked 3. The Brisbane Lions with their first win of season 2024.
They don't mind a smoke machine here at Gather Round, do they? Cameron Ling saying a short time ago about the black smoke. I haven't seen this much black smoke since the Vatican were failing to find a pope. There is that much circling around Adelaide Oval at the moment, with both of the teams, of course, having black as their jumper. But magnificent scene nonetheless. They're really packed in for this one, and the city is an absolute abuzz, Corbin.
Port Adelaide off their first loss of the year. They won a lot of the key categories last week against the Demons, as Josh Franco and Cameron Ling touched on. More disposals, more inside 50s, clearances, tackles, marks inside 50, contested possessions. All went Port Adelaide's way except the one that truly mattered. They lost on the scoreboard to the Demons, while for Essendon, they are off a spirited victory last week, squeaking past St Kilda, having trailed for 91% of the game. And in the end, they were in front when it mattered most. The Bombers 2-1, the Power 2-1. Friday night footy in front of a packed crowd at Adelaide Oval. The thoughts of our experts ahead of it, the 3-time premiership cat Cameron Ling and the superstar from the Port Adelaide Football Club, Josh Franco.
Josh, just got one query for you around what Port Adelaide does with their backline. You spoke about it before, the fact they've brought in Zirk Thatcher and Ratugolea to support that backline, get the bigger bodies there. Ali's down there as well. Then they've got the runners and the creators. When I look at the Essendon or the potential Essendon forward line, it's quite a mobile tall forward line. Yep. Yeah, so Langford, Stringer, Harry Jones can all play tall, but can also play as that medium super mobile forward line. Is there one possible way that Essendon can exploit that back line, that Ratugolea, Zirk Thatcher, Ali, all that? It becomes a little bit too top-heavy, cumbersome for Port.
Absolutely it does, Ling. And as we said, we talk about Ratugolea and Zirk Thatcher. They're not the most mobile. They've been added to the Port Adelaide defence to allow Ali and those types of guys to come across as that third man in and air assist and help with their back six. But look, I totally agree with you. And from Essendon's perspective, I reckon the number one key thing is bring the ball to ground, where they can get their speed at ground level, potentially expose the taller players in Ratugolea and Zirk Thatcher and even Ali and potentially put them under pressure that way.
Yeah, because if that ball hits the ground and occasionally even, this isn't the perfect way you want to enter a forward 50, but a bit of a mongrel kick to some space and some grass, as opposed to the obvious kick up high, one of those players reads it, marks the footy, and Port Adelaide, away they go. It can be a little bit of that ugly footy inside forward 50, just might catch them out.
And I think the other thing as well, if you look at someone like a Kane Farrell and a Houston, terrific players, terrific users of the ball by foot, but again, can you make them accountable by potentially going through their direct opponent? Are they great defenders one-on-one? That's probably not their one wood. Their kicking and their ability to help Port Adelaide move the footy is. So also, can you expose those types of players by going through their direct opponents?
And the obvious thing for Port Adelaide's perspective of how they win this game and win a really important matchup is that dominance through the middle of the ground. You and I mentioned before the A-grade midfield that they have. Essendon have two good ruckmen. I think Goldstein still holds his own pretty well, even though his best is maybe a couple of years behind him. And Sam Draper is pretty good at ground level. But when that ball hits the deck and Port Adelaide can just swarm all over it through the middle of the ground, that's how they take control of this one.
And they do. And if you look at Port Adelaide's mids, obviously we've spoken about them in the lead up to this game. And Rosie and Butters, the Batman and Robin of the AFL, their ability to get on that loose ground ball. And even if they come up against bigger body midfielders, as they did last week, and obviously they didn't get the 4 points, but we've seen it time and time again calling games here at Adelaide Oval. their ability to get on that loose ball. Ollie Wines out of that midfield, I don't think it hurts them that much against Essendon's group that plays in the middle of the ground. And Horn Francis, he's another one of those dynamic players that he hits through the stoppage well. His ability to explode from stoppage, and also, like Butters and Rosie, complement them in the ground ball gets as well. Will be hugely influential.
He's a beast, isn't he?
Yeah,
Horn Francis.
Oh,
it's amazing.
Just to give you some numbers around that, and we talk all the time, the midfield's going to decide the game, and it so often does. Essendon, the number one clearance differential team in the AFL, number one centre bounce clearance differential, plus 16, which is massive. And Port Adelaide have scored from almost 35% of its clearances, which is a high number. So both teams obviously super productive in that area. The other one which jumped off the page at me when I was going through the numbers was Port Adelaide have not lost a defensive one-on-one this year. So they have not lost a defensive one-on-one, which is amazing to think where they're at the moment. And you compare that to Essendon, who are number 17 in the competition for defensive one-on-ones contested. So you got one team that's really good defending one out, and the other team in the Bombers who have struggled in that area in the early in the young season.
Well, that leads me perfectly to my next question for you. How have you seen Ben Mackay?
The jury's out for me in terms of... I watched the game closely last week. I obviously plays down back. He's got the height, the athleticism. But again, looking at Port Adelaide's forward line through Marshall, Finlayson, Dixon, are they going to have enough firepower down there to contain them if Port Adelaide get enough inside 50s?
It feels like, I'm assuming it's probably Dixon he takes. It's kind of the perfect matchup for Mackay because of his size and his strength in one-on-one. I've also had questions in the first couple of weeks around those who smart leaders, those who can be mobile, back lead on him a little bit, where I think when he was at North Melbourne, the comfort level came from, I'm the main man back here, everybody, he'll cover that one, I'll read it in there, I'll try and intercept market. Now that he's at Essendon and they're trying to jump up in their level of play, he's got to play on an opponent as well as come off and help. So I think he's been tested in other weeks. I just don't think Dixon necessarily is the one who can duck in and the little late leads and things like that. Mind you, Charlie Dixon is such a monster of a man himself. It'll be a great battle.
Port Adelaide also number one for marks inside 50 this year, so weigh that up against the Bombers' struggles down back. The last time they met, Dan Houston banged one through after the bell in one of the most outrageous finishes you're ever likely to see at the MCG late last year, round 16. So Port Adelaide won that meeting by 4 points, having trailed by 9 at three-quarter time, and they've won the last 7 against the Bombers, so they do have a good recent record, Port Adelaide, against the boys in red and black. It is Port Adelaide and Essendon in front of us. The early game out at Norwood in front of over 9,000 fans. Brisbane by 70 points over North Melbourne. I mentioned Dan Houston, so kept to 18 disposals last week, well blanketed by Alex Neil-Bullen. What does Brad Scott do with him tonight?
Well, I think he tries something similar if he can, because it wasn't just the fact that Houston was kept to 18 disposals. It was Neil-Bullen's dangerous positions he got to. But he had 24 touches, I think, from memory, and kicked a couple of goals. If you're going to play that defensive forward role on a player like Dan Houston or off the wing or wherever it might be, you have to end up in super dangerous positions, but through really smart play. You can't just blindly lead. He'll get off and he'll just zone off. Instead, you've got to get to the 30 metres, 40 metres out from goal, little pockets of space, get used, kick a goal or two on your opponent, make them hurt.
Game 3 gather round weekend is coming up. We're less than a couple of minutes away. Aaron Bryant is the 5th member of our crew between the benches. G'day, Aaron.
G'day, Corby. It's a magnificent night in Adelaide, isn't it? 17 degrees. We had this perfect sunny day in the 20s in the build-up. There's a slight swirling breeze down here towards the Western Broadcast wing, but it shouldn't impact gameplay. I actually had the chance to walk the ground earlier, and it's held up pretty well after last night's clash. There's only a few divots around the half-forward flanks. There's a fair few more on the northern hill, which is going to again be jammed as tight as a phone booth. I imagine a fair few more neutral supporters here tonight. They seem to have nabbed a ticket, considering all the interstaters that have arrived for the weekend. What that might actually mean is we could push towards last night's crowd total of 48,000, and that would be Port's largest non-showdown crowd since 2015. And the other big news down here, there's some big names on the bench. So for Port Adelaide, Burton, Georgiadis, Mead and Zach Butters. For the Bombers, they've put Stringer on the pine as well, alongside Menzies, Dersma and Perkins. the subs, Burgoyne and Hind. Zach Merritt has won the toss. He'll kick to the northern end of the left-hand side of your radio dial.
Thanks, Az. Milestones for Georgiades in his 50th, Houston in his 150th. It's an AFL game, so no song. Oh, how's that for timing? I was able to speak it into existence. We're going to do it. Stand by, the Port Adelaide fans are ready to roar as we're about to bounce the footy on Friday night.
For 1,000 years, if I hurt you, I'll make wine from your tears. I told you that we could fly, 'cause we all have wings. But some of us don't know why. I was standing, you were there, two worlds collided, and they could never.
Gather round rolls on. Port Adelaide versus Essendon at a raucous Adelaide Oval on ABC Sport. You're with Clint Wilden.
Good bounce to get things underway. And it's Goldstein who wins it down to Parrish. Kicks the Bombers away laterally. Taken then by Kelly. Got a hand pass out to Martin. Then thumped forward. I'll work it towards left half forward, but turned over. Redmond's kick wasn't quite where he wanted it to go. And back there is the milestone man, Dan Houston, in game 150. The All-Australian for Port. Kicks back down the wing. As in the middle of the ground, it curls out to Martin offhand. Swicks the hand pass forward. Tapped on by Jones of Port. Comes again to Martin. Looks to hand it off. They'll quickly kick from Caldwell towards left half forward. And it's seen over the boundary line by Harrison Jones and out for a throw-in.
We were just discussing Dan Houston and who might have that job. It looks like it's Ben Hobbs who's going to play that role, but trying to stay dangerous, yet try and nab a goal or two like Alex Neil-Bullen did so effectively last week.
Brendan Zirk-Thatcher and Xavier Dersma traded for one another last off-season, so they play against their old team tonight from the boundary throw-in. Soldo grabs it, he's locked up. Port Adelaide in their home jumper, with the teal and the white V on the black background, and Essendon all in red with the black sash and the red trim that goes in the middle of that and the white shorts. We'll have a secondary ball up on the wing as Travis Boak's locked up.
We spoke about Mackay pre-game, Lingy. It looks like he does have the job on Dixon.
Corbin Middlemaz, Clint Wilden, Josh Franco, Cameron Ling, Aaron Bryans, your call team. Friday night footy at Adelaide Oval as Goldstein hands it out to Caldwell, hand pass a turnover, straight to Horn Francis, gives it to Rosie, kicks down to half forward and the intercept mark. Strong one as well from Benny Mackay at half back for Essendon. His fourth game in his new colours. No score after a minute and a half.
That's an important moment for Mackay. Strong against Dixon, read the flight of the ball well, good strong grab.
Went inboard across half back to Merritt. Kicks towards the commentary wing. No mark taken. Parrish is there. Gave it back to Caldwell. Was involved in the marking contest. Kick inside forward 50. 2-on-2 battle. Draper tapped it down. Langford. It's been caught in play. Back to Draper again for the Bombers. They move it on to Gresham, who snaps from the left forward pocket and kicks the goal. First blood for the Bombers. 1 straight 6. Port yet to score. We've gone 2.5 minutes in the opening term. Friday night footy on ABC Sport.
Lingy, I'd like to see the replay of that from our vantage point up here. I'd like to see if that didn't go out of bounds.
Langford out of bounds? Surely not.
Oh, we've had some of those, haven't we? Wow.
Speaking of that Sydney game earlier on.
Yes, we're going to see the replay of it. It was a terrific contest, initially by Sam Draper to get the ball to ground, but yeah, we were kind of blindsided a little bit by a few of the players. Did it go out of bounds? Oh, I don't know on that occasion. Not as clear as the one against the Swans.
Perfect start from Essendon.
Jade Gresham is fifth for the year. First year at Bomberland, having been picked up as a free agent over the off-season. Essendon with the opener. Soldo wins the hit out back in the middle. Parrish can't trap it. Spills to Horn Francis. Hand pass to Drew. Kicks inside the forward arc. Punched away by Cox, who's playing down back. Willie Rioli onto it. Unguarded. Goal square. Got it. Port answers straight back. And the home team's in business. 3.5 minutes in. Port Adelaide 1 straight 6. Off the back of Willie Rioli, Essendon 1 straight 6. This is Friday Night Footy on ABC Sport. Earlier, Brisbane by 70 points over North Melbourne. Cameron Ling and Josh Franco.
Josh, there's the strength of that Port Adelaide midfield. Straight out the middle, dangerous kick inside, and then just good forward craft by Rioli.
Absolutely. And I guess from a midfield perspective, if you're trying to defend that, you've got to try to force them wide. You can't let them use their hands and come out the front of the stoppage, because with the 6-6-6 rule, it puts the defenders under immense pressure. And ultimately, too, we've seen Port Adelaide over the first 3 rounds. Their accuracy in front of goal hasn't been good. So Rioli, go back and nail it on the run. A really good nerve settler for the power.
Quick start. 7 disposals to 4 in favour of the Bombers. 1 goal apiece on the scoreboard. Sent skyward again. Sent down by Soldo. Came out to Rose. He gave it off to Horn Francis. He runs the centre half forward. Kicks in the direction of Dixon. It's over the top of him. Goes across for a boundary throw-in.
And Lee, they're the ones they've got to try to nullify. They can't let Jason Horn-Francis full front, taking grass, exploding out of the stoppage and putting their back 6 under the pump from Essendon's perspective.
He almost could have had a bounce and run to 50.
Yeah.
That would have brought the house down.
Throwing in. Dixon will do the ruck work. Behind him, though, Goldstein won it down. Parrish had it slapped out of his hands. Still there to be won. Setterfield tries to pick it up for the Bombers. You can see lurking. They're going to ball this up as Drew, the last player to emerge with the football, and alongside him is Heppel. Throwing up again, still inside forward 50 for Port. Goldstein palmed it down over the shoulder. Got it on to Heppel. The clearing kick from Mackay. Bounces beyond defensive 50. The race onto the football. Caldwell couldn't get there. Hobbs lending support. Got in front of Boak. Couldn't control it, though, over the boundary line for a throw-in. 5 gone in the first. 1 straight 6 apiece between Port and the Bombers. Friday Night Footy on ABC Sport.
No late change coming in, so Jace Burgoyne the sub for Port Adelaide and Nick Hind for the 2nd straight week. There's a technical sub for the Bombers as Goldstein and Soldo lock up. Soldo, the volleyball strike in the end, gets it out to Rosie, half forward. Hand pass turned over. Parrish, his kick smothered by Rosie. Wins the footy, outside of the right boot, kicks to the goal square and about through. A special from the Port Adelaide skipper. The defensive act and then kicks it on the outside of the right boot. They'll check it on the video. But the soft signal is that that will be a goal to Port Adelaide's number 1.
Not sure what they're checking.
I'm not sure who could even lay hands on it. That is a clear goal. And it'll be a go-ahead score for Port Adelaide in the game. How about that for a bit of work? Connor Rosie. The forward 50 pressure act results in the goal. The power 2 straight, Essendon 1 straight. Port Adelaide by 6 points, 6.5 minutes in. Friday Night Footy, ABC Sport.
Got to say, Lingy, I constantly had these arguments with people around boys learning to kick on their opposite foot. That was probably the perfect example of why you don't need to. Connor Rosie's got every trick in the book. The outside of the right foot, unbelievable.
The only thing I'd say to any kids listening right now, not everyone's as skillful as Connor Rosie.
Yeah, cool.
So still learn to do it on your opposite foot, but he is brilliant. Hey, watching, he's the most beautiful build, size. He's got the height. He's got the strength over the footy, running ability, skill, everything.
And his speed at ground level to get on that loose ball. He's phenomenal player.
Marshall as well to make sure that the ball was able to go through, just standing his ground, providing a block on the goal square. Soldo won it away, actually smacked it in the face of an opponent, came back to Butters. Chance to build here. Going up, Lockie Jones couldn't quite take possession cleanly. It's spilled down. Merritt scoops it up, gets a hand pass to Martin, gets a hand pass forward through the middle of the gun to Parrish, tackled immediately by Butters. Ball jars free. Here's McGrath. Takes an early bounce, runs the centre half forward, kicks inside forward 50. Alir goes up, couldn't get a hand on it. Stringer went to ground up against Radaglia. It's tapped towards the boundary line. That is out. Off the hand of Jones of the Bombers, Harrison Jones. It'll be a throw in about 10 metres to the left of the left hand behind post. Port lead by 6 points, 8 gone in the first.
They're the ones, though. That kick inside forward 50 was a good one. Stringer got it to ground. It was a threatening ball as it was bobbling around, but Port just managed to scrap it out.
Soldo works his way to the front, wins the hit out for Port, but straight to Merritt, left forward pocket, tight angle, kicks across to the opposite pocket, hand on it from Jones, no mark, falls to Houston, hand pass to Bergman, he's drilled in the tackle. Xavier Dersma got him against his old team, and the ball spills out of bounds. We'll have a throw in front of the scoreboard. The SMS number, by the way, 0437 774 774. 0437 774 774.
Bought by 6 points, early stages first term. Draper front position, missed it, so did Soldo. More ricocheting around. Chance to clear here for Port through a boot of Aliir. Beyond defensive 50. Redmond stuck a boot at it, couldn't get it to go forward. Still there to be won. Players wrestling with each other. Eventually Georgiades got it away to Mead. Kick bounced into Redmond. He knocked it down. Comes out through Kelly, and then he gave it to Redmond, who runs over the boundary line. It's going to be a throw-in.
Just one of the other key matchups as well. Looking at Willem Drew, looks like he's got the job on the dangerous merit and the influential merit. So we'll keep an eye on that matchup throughout the course of the game.
Just shy of left half forward for Essendon, who trail by 6. 9 and a bit gone in the opening quarter. Friday night footy on ABC Sport. Soldo won it down for the power. Drew going through, tackled immediately of Parrish. Came out to Rosie, tries to shovel a hand pass out the side. It was an interesting one, but it's got it and got a hand pass across half back. Houston arches the back, got away from Stringer, and then will kick in the direction of Georgiades, who marks first game back after 349 days from the ACL, and he's got it at left half back for Port.
Got the strapping on that right knee. That's a good start. Hits Bergman, who marks on his chest down the wing.
Do you like that lace out from Houston for your first touchback? That was brilliant.
Bergman kicks to a contest inside 50. Marshall underneath it. Ball spills out the back to Redmond of the Bombers. Hand pass to Setterfield. Kicks from fullback out the left half back and finds Jai Menzie. He goes short to Hobbs in a dangerous one-on-one. Just got it, reaching past Houston. Passes in front of the wing, looking for Setterfield. Net front on by Radaglia. Ball spills out to Bergman. Hand pass spits out of bounds from Mead, and we'll have a boundary throw-in. Right in front of us in our broadcast box, it is Port Adelaide by 6 points. Friday night footy on ABC Sport after 10 minutes.
So the matchup there was Radaglia versus Stringer. So that's Essendon midfielders have got to identify that's the matchup. So therefore it can't come in long and high to Stringer. It's got to come to Stringer's advantage. Maybe out in front of him. Let him use his mobility.
Draper stuck the boot out. It came out to Caldwell to Merritt. They'll hack it forward here through Kelly, the Bombers, towards left half forward. Carries the pack. Langford turns. He's got support from Stringer. Sat up into the right arm, and then he lost his footing. Went to ground. Handed it back towards Langford. Kicked around the body towards full forward. Unable to take it cleanly was Bergman. Then Horne-Francis has to go piling in to lock it in. Just when Dersma thought he might have been able to kick a goal against his former team. Ball up at full forward for the Bombers. Draper and Finlayson are there for the ruck. Finlayson gathered after tapping it down with the fingertips. Waggles a kick beyond defensive 50. Mackay can't mark.
Spills down underneath Kelly, and also Drew fighting for the footy, and in the end the umpire says I'll have it. We'll have a ball up here. Attacking edge of the centre square. Corbin Middlemass, Clint Weldon, Cameron Ling, Josh Franco. Attacking edge of the centre square for the Bombers. Draper wins it down. Falls away of Farrell. His hand pass picked off. Merritt gives it over to Perkins. Hurried kick inside the forward 50. Radaglia can't mark. Then has it stolen by Stringer. Shoots goal with his kick across the goal face, and in the end doesn't score. Knocked out of bounds in the contest between Aliir and Jones in front of the behind post.
I don't like that matchup for Port, Josh, of Radaglia on Stringer. No. When that ball hits ground level now, Stringer's had 2 threatening balls there in the last couple of minutes. He'll eventually kick one of those.
Yeah. Just stole that away as well. And the restart, down to Draper, clean possession, through the ball. Mabuta goes straight up and down the elevator shaft. Couldn't be a mark despite the protestations from Horne-Francis. Didn't go far enough. And then he's taken over the boundary line in front of the magnificent old scoreboard that's here at the Adelaide Oval. There'll be a throw-in, still in the right forward pocket for the Bombers. 12 and a bit gone first term. Port by 6. Ball spun back into play. Both rucks missed it. Setterfield tapped it down only as far as Butters. He went to ground. Merritt tries to work it out for Essendon and gets away with it now. Lovely hand pass out to Harrison Jones. To Gresham in the right forward pocket. Oh, that's wonderful. He's got his second. The former Saint providing a couple of heavenly goals, and there is some push and shove inside the forward 50. There's a group of about 8 players involved straight away after that. The umpires will go in to try to break them all up, but take nothing away from that finish from Gresham to draw things level at the 13-minute mark of the opening term. Port and the Bombers 2 straight apiece here on Friday Night Footy on ABC Sport.
And Lee, just having a look at some of the stats, and they look pretty even. One of the areas I'm a little bit concerned about from Port's perspective is the tackle count. It's currently 10-3. And again, on that occasion, Gresham, who is such a dynamite and a live wire around those forward 50 stoppages, and when he gets those opportunities and you give him time and space and you let that leg rope stretch just a little bit too far, he'll hurt you.
That ground ball's in that forward line is Essendon's advantage at the moment.
2 straight 12 apiece. Scores level early on, opening 13 minutes on ABC Sport. Crooked bounce in the middle and the umpire recalls that.
And just to your point too, Lingy, around the matchup with Radigalia v Stringer, I'm looking at Port Adelaide's back six. Who is the best matchup for him? Is it a Lockie Jones who's got some body strength, or is it an Alir who's got the athleticism?
Burgoyne and Hind, the 2 subs, no late change coming in, and Brisbane beat North by 70 earlier tonight. From the restart, Horn Francis, quick kick forward, but straight to Nick Martin of the Bombers, sends it out wide, and a strong mark for the skipper. And Zach Merritt hugs it to his chest between wing and half forward. Gets up and goes. Kicks inside 50. Lang for the target. It carries his head. Hits the deck. Gresham's on it again. He's run down. Lost the footy holding the ball. He didn't quite hear Radigalia coming. And Big Sap runs him down to win it back for Port Adelaide. A goal-saving tackle in the left-back pocket. 2 straight 12 apiece after 14 minutes.
Lingy ground ball gets inside forward 50 at the moment. 6-2 in favour of the Bombers. Beyond offensive 50 for Port. They're able to find the ball at left half back. Burne-Jones marked and then was infringed, and he'll get a 50 metres. It'll bring him right up towards left half forward. Against Setterfield. Darcy Burne-Jones just inside the attacking edge of the centre square for Port, into the left forward pocket, coming out after it, trying to get there. Georgiades spoiled away. It's going to go across the boundary line. Ooh, is it? No, not quite. It's going to be a ball up right on the boundary line, the ball being locked in. Thrown aloft. Dixon to do the ruck work. Goldstein, though, won it down. Clearing kick from Essendon. They thump it long beyond defensive 50. Goes to the outer side, and right there by Langford. He puts it back into the middle of the ground to Merritt. They look to play on by hand, the Bombers, as they build it around here. Work to Setterfield. They come towards the commentary wing.
Head ball marks. Hand pass away to Cox, who's often moving down the wing. Short pass finds Kelly. He's all about this ground, the former Crow. Now well entrenched at the Bombers. Pokes the pass to a try onto the leader. Jones, no mark. Good spoil Alir, but straight down to Nick Martin. Overcooks it in the pocket. Trying to hit up Menzies. Puts too much on the kick and it's out on the full.
Tell you what, Bombers are actually looking really comfortable out there at the moment.
Yeah. And again now, I know that didn't work out. The kick went out in the full. But it was a ground ball from a marking contest. They're onto it. You asked before about Jones is about to get the footy now. I'm not sure I love that matchup with him on Gresham either.
Burton out to Lockie Jones. The kick didn't bounce his way. Setterfield, hand pass to Caldwell to Hobbs. Good tackle, Bergman. Forces the ball out. Bergman wins it. Hand pass to Burne-Jones.
Burne-Jones elects to play on by hand. Here's Bergman putting it inside forward 50. Laverty's back there though, and takes the defensive mark for the Bombers. He'll flare it out towards right half back. Goldstein marks, trundles forward and then kicks towards the outer wing. Hobbs, nice mark, right up against the boundary line. Underneath the Max Bashir stand, outer side of the ground, tried to go inboard, couldn't find a target, Port able to steal it away. Got it past Duursma, and they go towards Burne-Jones. Oh, trouble came from Finlayson, the tackle by Laverty, just got the kick away. Waiting for it was Soldo. Net by 2 Bombers. It's been held to him. No prior. Ball up the call. 60 out from Port's goal at left half forward. I'll throw it aloft again. On the side, get a telling tap down. It'll trundle back towards the boundary line. Another throw in left half forward. That's score once more. 17 gone in the first. 2 straight apiece between Port and the Bombers. Friday night footy on ABC Sport.
Probably another concern for Port Adelaide at the moment is the mark differential. At the moment, Essendon are +6 and using the ball pretty effectively.
From the boundary throw in, Soldo grabs it out of the ruck, tumbles a kick inside 50. Finlayson can't quite pick it up with pressure from Laverty. There's Martin, hand pass to Headball, breaks through a tackle. Hot hand pass, couldn't get it to his teammate. Rosie shoots it out.
He's pushing the back, Essendon's way.
Right, it's coming back to Xavier Duursma, who was tackled in all of that. Against Miles Bergman. So free kick for Duursma at half-back. Number 28 now for the Bombers.
When Stringer's on.
Packed house at Adelaide Oval. All 9 games sold out with all 18 teams in town for gather round. Corbin Middlemouse, Clint Weldon, Josh Franco, Cameron Ling and Aaron Bryans is the short kick to Stringer, and then he goes long down the wing, touched on the way through by Radigalia, but spills to Goldstein. Hand pass to Perkins, kicks to half forward. Langford wrestling for it, does well to win it at ground level. High half forward, kicks inside 50, good mark Kelly. We rarely see him up front, but plays leading out of the goal square here. He'll kick from centre half forward. No, he won't. He'll lay it off to the package for an early delivery. Stringer lands it from long range. The Bombers with a go-ahead goal. And the Bombers have settled early here in hostile territory. 19 minutes in, Essendon 3 straight 18. Port Adelaide 2 straight 12. The Bombers by that goal, Cameron Ling and Josh Franco.
Josh, that's a real concern, I reckon, now for Port Adelaide. So Jake Stringer is completely losing his opponent. You called it, 30 seconds ago, a minute ago earlier. He was on as the short kick at half-back. He purely went up there just to make it a little bit confusing for his opponent, Radigalea. He then works back. No one went anywhere near him. He gets that handball, nails the goal. When the ball's gone inside forward 50 at ground level, he's losing his opponent. That's a worry for Ken Hinkley.
And the other concern for Ken Hinkley are the probably two biggest KPIs, the contested possessions and tackle count. At the moment, the Bombers are +7 contested possession, +5 tackles.
Neither ruck got anywhere near it. Going to Grant Goldstein. Rosie picked it up for Port, gave it to Drew. Inside forward 50, and then just somehow it's found its way to the chest of Georgiades. It was about 5 players. Georgiades was there, sort of fourth in line. It dropped into him, and he takes the mark. He'll go back to have a shot. Slightly better than a 45-degree angle to the right. He'll kick from just outside 50.
I know it's been a long time since he's pulled the boots on at this level, but normally a pretty accurate long kick for goal. Once again, go back and nail this Georgiades just to settle your nerves back into the AFL system.
Milestone game for the 22-year-old. His 50th. First game back after 349 days from a knee injury from right on 50. This will bring the crowd to its feet. And the players, they get right around him. After more than a year out, in a footballing sense, it's Georgiades marks his return with a goal. The last time he played, March 25, 2023. It's the levelling goal for Port. 3 straight 18 apiece. So scores level as we go past time on in the first term. Friday night footy on ABC Sport.
And Lee, Georgiades is one of those players. He's a little bit or very different to the Marshalls and the Dixons. He does lead up and present at the footy. He's very good overhead. He'll sit on the head of his opponent if he's given time and space and the ability to have a run and jump at it. And a great finish there from Mitch Georgiades.
He nailed it, didn't he? As you said, a really good set shot goal kicker. Port, we've been singing the praises of Essendon, but what Port have always got is that midfield and that centre bounce clearance. Just straight away, pumping it in there, getting it to Georgiades.
Crooked bounce back in the middle. One of 4 bigs too, Josh. So they haven't changed they have changed their forward mix. So Dixon, Marshall, Finlayson and Georgiades. A little different for Port Adelaide with Wines out injured, Nevins omitted. Soldo grabs it out of the ruck. Hand pass releases the skipper. Puts on the Jets. Rosie from long range kicks into the pocket. Back pedaling to mark. It's Dixon in front of the behind post. How about that for silver service? The ruckman rips it down, feeds his skipper, and the key forward on the end of it.
Not sure what Goldie was doing in the ruck against Soldo.
Dixon to finish off the work.
No.
He's kicked it sky high into the opposite pocket, and in the end spilling the mark out of play. Heppel with the pressure from Burn Jones hit the fat part of the footy. It was just a little too good to be true for Port Adelaide out of the centre bounce. 3 straight 18 apiece. 22 minutes in, Friday night footy on ABC Sport.
And a concern for the Bombers is the centre bounce. At the moment, Port Adelaide 5-2 and looking dangerous.
Now the umpire puts it back into play. Mead was there at the drop of the footy for Port. Umpire spots a holding the ball decision. Got tackled. Come back for Essendon to have it. McGrath in the left back pocket.
I reckon every one of those 5 centre clearances too, Josh, been straight out the middle.
Yeah.
Dangerous ones.
Yeah.
McGrath for the Bombers. Once Langford bounced in front of him. Couldn't gather. Setterfield's hand pass missed Merritt. There was Soldo for Port. Looking to move it forward through Bergman to Burton. Kicks Port Adelaide inside forward 50. Coming up to meet it, Marshall. Attacked the football, left up, was able to cradle it into his chest. He'll be able to go back and have a shot tighter than a 45-degree angle to the right. He'll put boots the ball from 45 out.
His goal kicking has been better this year. I remember talking to him midway through last year. He's having so many issues with his hips and just getting his body that he felt he had no power and penetration in his goal kicking, his set shot goal kicking. You can see early on in this season a lot more confident with the ball 40 plus metres out.
5-5 for the season. We're right behind the kick from Marshall. Sends it towards goal. And if you want to go ahead goal, you hold for a Marshall because Todd delivers. Accurate kicking in front of the big sticks. 4 straight 24 Port. The Bombers are 3 straight 18. It's the Power by 6 points. 24 minutes gone in the opening term. Friday night footy on ABC Sport, on ABC Radio, News Radio and Sport Digital, and of course streaming on the ABC Listen app.
And even going back to the set and bounce clearances for Port Adelaide, and I hope we can articulate this well, is that if you're going to concede the centre bounce or you're going to lose the centre bounce clearance, you've got to try to force that ball wide. Yep. You can't allow the opposition to come right through the middle of you and then get deep entries to put your defenders under the pump. And as we said at the moment, Port Adelaide, they're 5-2, so they're +3 in clearances and they've already scored 2 centre bounce goals.
Josh Franco, former Port Adelaide midfielder, with us on ABC Sport. A crooked bounce in the middle of the up lets them go this time as Draper makes contact with Soldo. Heavy landing for the Port ruckman. Essendon win the footy. As a hand pass from Caldwell finds Merritt. Feeds it to centre half forward. No clean pick up. Bit of tunnel ball. Setterfield had it. Lost it. Drew in the end clean. Extracts it. Gives it to Farrell. Took on the tackler and he's caught. Holding the ball. Kane Farrell tried to dance through them. And in the end, Essendon are going to win the footy back. And it'll be Jade Gresham who's had a hot start in this opening turn.
He's already kicked the 2 goals. Terrific defensive pressure there. But just go back to that centre bounce. I don't love it when the ball is the crooked bounce is not quite a recall, but it just sits completely on the head of one ruckman and he's fair game to be basically run straight through. That's just unfair on the setup. And that either should be recalled or do we dare bring up, just throw it up, get rid of the bounce?
I'm with you.
Man on the mark's right on the 50. Gresham darts out to his right. Toe meets leather, but the kick is wayward. He's missed everything. Out to the left. Out on the full. No change to that score. It's Port Adelaide by 6 points as we're in time on in the opening term.
Oh, Rosie was almost in real trouble. It was just about run down by Merritt. It was picked up by the Bombers, though. Trying to get it forward again. Langford shoveled it out. Martin couldn't take it off. Bergman hitting a solid tackle. Caldwell got him. The ball jarred free. Bergman tried to knock it out the side again. McGrath for a moment had possession, then tackled by Butters. It's desperate stuff out there at the moment here in Gather Round. The Bombers through Merritt. And then Heppel looked to work it on. Comes out towards the boundary wing. Merritt keeps it in. Hand passes over the shoulder to McGrath. Hands it off again to Heppel. Kick towards left half forward. Tapped down by Harrison Jones. Martin wobbles a kick and bounces inside forward 50. O'Leary missed it. Hobbs tries to gather. Extreme pressure being applied. It's still there to be won. Houston picks it up. He's tackled to ground by Hobbs. It's fantastic footy. And still Port lead by a goal. 5 to play in the first.
Tell you what, Zach Merritt, take a bow. Rosie was running, exiting the ball out of their D50 and just got a fingertip on him to affect the kick and cause the ball to go in the scramble. Now Essendon able to re-enter their forward 50.
Oh, what a great passage of play. A victim of that was Jai Caldwell. He's got a nice big cut above the eye. He's coming off under the blood rule. But, gee, that was fierce footy. First of all down in front of us and then again inside forward 50. This is a good game.
And Port Adelaide, in that heat, look a little bit fumbly as well.
Forward 50 stoppage for the Bombers. Goldstein wins it down. Zerk Thatcher kicks over his shoulder straight to Perkins. Slams it on his boot. Floats goalward. It's offline. It's through from behind. First one of the game. Essendon 3-1. Port Adelaide 4 straight. The Power by 5 points as we tick towards quarter time. Aaron Bryans on the boundary.
They expect a fairly massive shiner for poor Jai Caldwell-Corby. He's getting some treatment done to the gash behind the lower right eye, and he's going to have to go down to the rooms because it's so deep and significant. So the doctor is escorting him down now.
He used to give a thumping kick in the middle of the ground. Rosie gathered through it on the boot. Kicks it up into the air. Still bouncing right on halfway. Perkins is there for the Bombers. Gave it out to Parrish. Now to Goldstein. Looking to work it forward again to Kelly. On the logo, commentary wing. Looks to move it short. Nice kick. Good mark too. Hobbs under pressure. Essendon fans in the ground thought it had been knocked away from him. Umpire saying, no, go back and take your kick. Bombers trailing by 5. Hobbs puts it back towards full forward. They come from everywhere. St Jones got a hand to it. Merritt tried to tap it to his own advantage. Alier looks to shepherd the ball for a moment, then picks it up and cleverly disguises it by stepping back over the boundary line for a throw-in about 2 metres to the left of the left-hand behind post. The old scoreboard or the cathedral end of the ground. That score remains. Port leading by 5. We've gone 28 minutes into the first.
All 9 games sold out this week. Bumper crowd for the second Friday night game in Gather Round after Brisbane won by 70 points earlier from the boundary throw-in. Merritt sharks it, snaps across the goal face. In the end, hits the behind post on the bounce. So we'll have the boundary throw-in in the opposite pocket. High praise from Brad Scott during the week, who of course played under Michael Voss, said that Zach Merritt was the most professional and driven footballer that he's just about ever seen.
That's what I've heard from every coach who's coached him or been an assistant coach since he's been at the Bombers, that exact same narrative.
Goldstein hits the deck, Soldo wins it down, but Setterfield sharp hands away to Gresham to Dersma, hand pass wanted Langford, it's broken up. Port win it through Boak, hand pass out in front of Butters, just sockers it up to the wing for Port, but in there is Benny Mackay. Takes the intercept mark for Essendon, immediately looks for Kelly in the corridor.
Kelly has Martin, who runs behind him, goes through the centre circles and flares it out to left half forward. A lovely kick and well meant by Harrison Jones. The Blue Boots rising off the turf, he takes the mark. It's a packed forward 50. He'll put it towards the teeth of goal for the Bombers. 4-on-4 battle. Radaglia got first hands to it. Spills down immediately. Trying to work it out. Langford. He's tackled to ground. Strongly tackled as well. Holding the ball. That's the call. Drew will get the free kick.
Gee, there's some ferocity around the tackles in this game. This is good footy.
Willem Drew, game number 74 consecutive. So played the last 74 games for Port Adelaide, which puts him top 10 in active streaks in the competition.
He's become such an important player for them. I mean, I know we always talk, and quite rightly, about Rosie and Butters and Horn Francis, but he's that other element, just hard, tough, can do a roll and still finds the footy.
Short kicking game in the back 50. Radaglia brings it out and finds Georgiades, who's kicked a goal on his return already. Mark's still defensive side of the wing. Port by 5 points. Friday night footy on ABC Sport as Georgiades kicks inside the centre square. Goldstein went down and that was an illegal manoeuvre against Soldo, so free kick Essendon.
What Essendon have done really well is clog up that corridor. Port Adelaide unable to come back through the middle of the ground and get their game going on their terms.
Here's Redmond going out to Draper. Marks just inside the boundary. Right half forward. Goes back to take his kick. He glances inboard for a moment. There were options on short. One was Redmond presenting himself. Instead, he'll put it into the right forward pocket. Soldo went to it, had hands to it, dropped it. Bounced away from Stringer. Boak was able to claim it. Hand pass meant for Butters. Couldn't take it cleanly. Boak with a second go. Threw it on the boot, but only finds Redmond marking in front of the logo. On the outer wing. He'll move it forward quickly to Gresham. Hard up against the boundary at right half forward. Wanted Stringer. Couldn't drag it in with the left. The pressure came from Alier behind him. Had to stop himself from crashing into the fence as well. It's a ball to be put back in by the boundary umpire, about 45 out from the Bombers' attacking goal. 31 gone, still Port lead by 5.
Brisbane by 70 over North Melbourne in the earlier game down at Norwood from the boundary throw in. Forward 50 stoppage for the Bombers. Spills to Radaglia, kick smothered. Butters courageous as always. Wins it, takes the tackle, got it back to Radaglia. Kicks out of the defensive arc. Loose footy, middle of the ground. Picked up by Drew. Clean. He's tackled, lost it. Dersma sockers it to McGrath's advantage. Essendon going back inside 50. Gives it to Cox. Kicks to the top of the goal square. They come from all directions. Draper the volley misses. Clipped the post on the way through. He just threw a boot at it, had more time than he thought, and in the end crashes into the goalpost. Essendon 3-2, but they're right on here in the opening term. Port Adelaide 4 straight, the power by 4 points, 32 travelled opening term. Friday night footy on ABC Sport.
Well, fellas, I reckon Ken Hinkley must be listening to the ABC radio in the commentary box, because I reckon Radaglia has now been moved off Stringer, and it looks like Alier's got the job on him.
Used to with another thumping kick, and he finds Finlayson, was able to get rid of Cox. Takes the mark. Defensive point of the centre square at right half back, and he looks to share it off. Terrible from Butters, who went behind Finlayson under pressure. It came from Parrish. He got it out to Hobbs. Hand pass to Merritt. It missed its target. Wanted Gresham. Had time to gather again despite the tackle from Alier. Spills forward to Stringer. Hand passes back again. Onto its Merritt. Has a chance to snap. And he'll miss. To the right-hand side. It opened up for them again. The Bombers getting closer by inches. It's a 3-point margin now.
It's what Josh said before, though. Essendon, they're crowding that corridor so well. The only time Port Adelaide have had this game on their terms is from centre bounces, not trying to move it from defence.
The Bombers' last 4 shots, 3 behinds and 1 out of bounds on the full as Houston goes long to the back edge of the centre square. Rioli moves through it. Hand pass to Bergman, kicks to Butters, who marks on the wing in front of the interchange gates. Hand pass to Rioli. Good transition here. Kicks to half forward. Marshall up strong and marks. He's got it 60 from home. Port lead by 3. They're going inside 50 again. They're queuing up in the corridor. He comes out wide and Finlayson marks 45 from home at right half forward, just inside the boundary line.
Better transition there, wasn't it, by Port Adelaide? They had options on the open side of the ground as well.
And that's what I was just about to say, Lingy. Their ability to move the ball from D50 into forward 50, outstanding, and it just relieves the pressure. Essendon had the prior 6 inside 50s. It was living in their forward half, and this just takes a little bit of the sting out of the tail of the Bombers.
5 goals, 6 for the year, Jeremy Finlayson. Let's see how he goes here, the lefty, as he moves in. His kick starts out to the left. It stays there. Opposite pocket, marking opportunity for Dixon. Can't reel it in. Goldstein for Essendon. Hand pass to Hetwell, and that'll do us. A highly entertaining opening term. Port Adelaide keep their perfect quarter one record intact. They have led at quarter time in all 4 games thus far, and so they do here. Port Adelaide 4 straight 24. Essendon 3-3-21. It is Port Adelaide by 3 points at quarter time in the second leg of the Friday night doubleheader in Gather Round. The goal kickers for Port Adelaide, we got one for Connor Rosie. It was a special one at that. Todd Marshall with one to Willie Rioli, and one to Mitch Georgiades. Meanwhile, for Essendon, Jade Gresham has a couple and Jake Stringer has the other. Earlier tonight, Joe Danaher kicked 5 and Eric Hipwood kicked 3 as Brisbane did a job on North Melbourne, a 70-point margin in the finish, 16-16 to 6-6. So a big win for Brisbane in front of 9,037 on the parade at Norwood. So that was the earlier game. Entertaining game in front of us. The thoughts of Cameron Ling and Josh Franco coming up in just a moment. Port Adelaide by 3 points at quarter time. Friday night footy on ABC Sport.
If you love country music, you'll love ABC Country.
You get a fast car.
It's Australia's home of country music. The music you grew up with.
You'll be the captain.
All the latest country hits.
I ain't proud of all the punches that I've thrown.
And emerging artists.
Because, baby, we've been apart.
24 hours commercial free. ABC Country. It's on your DAB Plus digital radio and the ABC Listen app.
You're listening to the AFL Gather Round. AFL. On radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And take us with you on the ABC Listen app.
Langford, it's been caught in play, back to Draper again for the Bombers. They move it on to Gresham, who snaps from the left forward pocket and kicks the goal. First blood for the Bombers.
Kicks inside the forward arc, punched away by Cox, who's playing down back. Willie Rioli onto it, unguarded, Goldsmith got it. Port answers straight back. Hand pass turned over. Parrish, his kick smothered by Rosie. Wins the footy outside of the right boot. Kicks to the goal square about through. A special from the Port Adelaide skipper.
Lovely hand pass out to Harrison Jones to Gresham in the right forward pocket. Oh, that's wonderful. He's got his second. The former Saint providing a couple of heavenly goals.
Kelly, we rarely see him up front. The plays leading out of the goal square here. He'll kick from centre half forward. No, he won't. He'll lay it off to the package for an early delivery. Stringer lands it from long range.
Inside forward 50, and then just somehow it's found its way onto the chest of Georgiades. First game back after 349 days from a knee injury from right on 50. This will bring the crowd to its feet. And the players, they get right around him. To Burton. It's Port Adelaide inside forward 50. Coming up to meet it, Marshall. And right behind the kick from Marshall. Sends it towards goal. And if you want to go ahead goal, you hold for a Marshall because Todd delivers.
The 2024 AFL Gather Round.
On your radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
3 lead changes in that opening term. Port Adelaide by 3 points at quarter time. Mark Merritt is listening from the tractor doing some ploughing in, I hope it's, is it Canova? Is that what we're rolling with? Or Caneva?
Canova, maybe?
Canova. Anyway, it's part of
Apologies.
Essendon's old catchment area, so apologies, Mark, if we've mispronounced that. Roger Merritt is a distant relative of mine. Unfortunately, the footy skills didn't transfer to me. My brave junior career highlight was keeping a young Darcy Fogarty goalless. Thanks for the call. Nice to hear from you, Mark. Can't beat an ABC call. Go the Bombers. Jakey Stringer to absolutely tee off and give the Bombers a lift from Aaron on the Murray River. Clint, Corbin, Lingy, Aaron and Josh. Top call as usual on AB, coming through loud and clear on ABC Radio in Sydney. Go Port Adelaide from Grant in Waterloo. So thanks, Grant. Nice to hear from you. 0437 774 774 the SMS. Corbin Middlemass, Clint Weldon, Cameron Ling and Josh Franco. The thoughts of our lads in just a moment, but first Aaron Bryans is on the boundary. Aaron.
Just a quick one, Corby. The Essendon doctor's done a patchwork job that a plastic surgeon would be proud of. Jai Caldwell's good to go, and you can't even see the deep gash that he had underneath his right eye. So no troubles for the Bombers early. Port Adelaide are all merry as well.
And Ian has just jumped in to provide an update for me. It is Kaniva. Kaniva is how you pronounce it. So hopefully that clears that up for you. And thanks, Ian, for that. Josh Franco and Cameron Ling, ABC Sport.
Well, Josh, it was a tale of two different styles throughout that first quarter, wasn't it? Where at times, Essendon moved the ball really well through the ground, and they looked dangerous when they got ground balls inside their forward 50. They bottled up the corridor really well to stop Port Adelaide's movement. But when Port Adelaide's mids got the ball out of the middle of the ground from centre bounces, that's when they looked at their absolute best.
Absolutely, Lee. I think you nailed it. And I think the other thing from Essendon's perspective is, and I think you made mention of it in that first quarter, is their tackling pressure has been outstanding at the moment. They're +7 in the tackle count. Their ability to close time and space from Port Adelaide, not give them the chance to get the game on their terms, has been outstanding. But the thing that I've really liked from Essendon's perspective, and again from a bias perspective, I've watched a lot of Port Adelaide. They are so aggressive normally at going through the corridor. And I think you called it again in that first quarter. They had, I don't think, any opportunities where they had free targets in the middle of the ground where they could get the game going from an offensive perspective and get that on their terms.
You mentioned a little bit too around the contest and the contested possessions. It's a highly contested possession game. It's 41 each. Now, if that continues, we're looking at 160 each in contested possessions. That's a big number. Now, I have my doubts as to whether or not it's sustainable to keep going like that. You'd think if it does break down a little bit, that's where Port's runners through the middle and off halfback start thinking they can't sustain this Essendon for 4 full quarters yet. We can. We will eventually break them open.
Yeah, and then again on that point too, Lingy, other than centre bounce, a lot of Port Adelaide's clearances have been rushed.
Yeah.
And they've been sort of quick hack kicks forward, which have allowed the Essendon defenders to get involved in that play behind the footy. But you're right, it is highly contested to the point that Essendon need to maintain their rage and keep pressure on the ball. And if they don't, as you said, it almost sensed that it could potentially break open for the power.
The best players are playing well, which is always great on a Friday night. Connor Rosie's had the 13 disposals along with 3 clearances, kicked a goal, and Zachy Merritt for the Bombers, as he always does, has had the 12 disposals, 3 clearances as well. He's kicked it behind, though. He had a good chance in that first quarter. But 2 of the best, the captains leading the way.
Fun game of footy. Gather round all 18 teams in the one spot this weekend in South Australia. Port carrying the hopes for the locals as Soldo in the middle to start the second term. Wins the first hit out. Down to the Hornet. Horn Francis as he kicks down to half forward. Martin can't mark under pressure. Spills to Rioli. Kicks into the forward pocket. Laverty clever. Just knocks it down to the advantage of Mackay. Got it back to Laverty. Hand pass finds Heppel. Back flank for the Bombers. Darting, weaving. Kicks along the ground to Martin. He's dragged down. Big tackle, Butters. Ball comes out to McGrath. He's crunched. Somehow Drew got it out to Rioli. Set upon. Taken ball and all. And we'll have a ball up right on the attacking 50 for Port Adelaide. They are kicking to the Cathedral end. The beautiful old scoreboard is, which reads Port Adelaide 4 straight, Essendon 3-3, 40 seconds into the second quarter.
Soldo, who won it down for Port, to Mead. Now to Bird Jones from 48 metres out. Oh, what a goal kicker he has become. For the last couple of seasons, time and time again, he's been able to find the major opening after moving up from defence. What a key moment that might be for Port to give them a 9-point lead, the biggest in the game so far, opening 65 seconds for the second term. Port 5 straights, 30 points, Essendon 3-3-21.
Well, Josh, you reckon that was a case of all the Essendon mids being so fixated on the Port superstars?
Yeah.
But it was Mead who came through and they almost forgot about him to get such an easy clearance?
That's probably a fair comment. And even looking at the replay, you're right, and this Burn Jones, he's almost been a revelation forward. He was one step going out of the team a couple of years ago, and they found that new niche for him as that small pressure forward. And once again, his ability to hit the scoreboard at crucial times, important.
Essendon ended the first quarter with 3 behinds and 1 out on the full. And now Port Adelaide start the second term with an early goal. All of a sudden, Port have kicked the last 3 of the game. 9 points, Port Adelaide's lead, the biggest of the match. No clean possession in the middle. Picked up by Drew, and in the end, in fact, it was Mead, and he's tackled to ground by Parrish. We'll have a ball up, centre half forward for the Bombers. Corbin Middlemass and Clint Weldon, Josh Franco Cameron Ling and Aaron Bryans, your call team tonight. As gather round continues on ABC Footy from the restart. Heppel off his knees, got a hand pass back into dispute. Drew extracts it. Hand pass to Horn Francis to Butters. Handball away to Boak. Port Adelaide through the middle. Kick smothered. Nice bit of work by Caldwell. Got it out towards Merritt. Hand pass in front of Perkins. Horn Francis looking for contact. Port win the footy. Boak's hand pass found Drew. And just like a rolling maul, they attack it forward, but Essendon win it back. Nick Martin to Redmond. Sweeping hand pass out in front of Goldstein on the wing for Essendon.
Goldstein can put boots of ball. Not the result he wanted. Turned over. Marked by Ratugolea on true centre wing out of sight.
Tell you what, this is a cracking game.
Oh, yeah.
Just the pressure there from both sides. Outstanding.
It's been fantastic. Here's Ratugolea kicking towards right half forward. 2-on-2 battle. Might have been a little pushing that. Spilled out the back though. Martin gathered for the Bombers to Goldstein and then cleverly works it to Dersma, the former power player. Boo around the ground, runs forward, gave it to Caldwell, kicked towards centre wing. Ali went up, couldn't mark. Perkins was touched. He thought he'd been able to grab it. Umpire told him differently. Looked to bring it back in laterally. Burne-Jones did well to knock it to the ground, provided pressure against Merritt, but it was able to come to Parrish. And then going forward, they send it into the attacking 50 here, the Bombers. Through Perkins, it comes now towards Stringer off the outside of the right boot, as cool as you like. He worked it around the body into the right forward pocket. Mark there to be taken, and going back to have a shot is Menzie.
That was going to be a free kick, I think, for an arm chop. So Jakey has an amazing skill, but I'm glad the little banana pass worked out for him, because otherwise he was going to waste an opportunity for a free kick inside forward 50. But again, dangerous when the ball's on the ground inside forward 50 for the Bombers.
Menzie end a run. And 3 unanswered Port goals. He misses. From about 35 metres out, 45-degree angle to the right, he hits the left-hand upright. Minus score. 3-4-22 the Bombers, 5 straight 30 Port.
So just on that last 5 shots for Essendon, 4 behinds, 1 out on the full. And of those 4 behinds, 2 have hit the post. So Port have been accurate, Essendon haven't been. Butters, superb kick straight down the pipe, finds Lockie Jones. Hand pass to Horn Francis, kicks into the front half, never breaking stride. Boak, he's held up now. Cox makes him go back to take the kick. Boak, forward of the wing, puts it inside the forward arc, finds Finlayson, who marks out wide, a step in from the boundary line. He'll kick from about 45 out.
And just on that, again, Lee, can I just...
Hang on, he opens up the angle and hits the fat part of the footy. A floater, and Heppel takes the intercept mark in the back pocket.
The kick from Butters in the corridor to Jones, that's the play that Port Adelaide are looking for. First time they've been able to manufacture it tonight.
Port by 8 points, 5 minutes in, as the kick from Heppel finds Darcy Parrish at right half back.
Parrish twirls the yellow Sharon around in his hands and then kicks down the commentary wing. It's nicely done to Langford, out to Mark. Just in front of the Port Adelaide interchange gates. He stands back now in front of the Bombers ones. So from true centre wing, commentary side of Adelaide Oval, he turns it over with a kick towards right half forward. Butters in the green boots takes basically an uncontested mark.
Look at the clog of players in the middle.
Superb from Essendon.
And then he turns it over. Now Martin has it. Shy of the attacking edge of the centre square for Essendon. Stabs the pass inside forward 50 and hits Perkins on the chest. He should go back and kick this for the Bombers. He's right in front. He'll put boots of ball from no more than 45 out.
Well, I tell you what, that's what Port Adelaide give you. They give you that opportunity because they have this thirst to go back through the middle of the ground. And I'm not sure what Butters saw there, because it was all red and black and a couple of till jumpers in there. It was almost a kick and hope, and ultimately paid the price. Turnover inside 50, uncontested mark.
Archie Perkins, 2 goals, 1 for the season so far. Little skip, a hop and a jump. He's into his run now. He's right in front. Goal umpire doesn't have to move. That's a much needed goal for the Bombers. After Port had kicked the past 3 and they had been inaccurate in front of goal. Port's lead just 2 points now. The 7-minute mark of the second term. Port 5 straight 30. The Bombers back to be 4-4-28. Friday night footy on ABC Sport.
And this is where I think Port Adelaide needs to adjust. So Josh is spot on. They desperately want to go into the corridor. Essendon are playing it, almost overloading, overcompensating, going with numbers in there. It creates a turnover there. Port have got to be smart. Let's use the space, give it to them. Go outside with one kick. Drag some of those Bombers players out of the corridor a bit, and then maybe it's the next kick that finds the corridor and overlap run. It doesn't have to be every single kick going into the corridor at all times.
Makes for an intriguing battle. The thoughts of Cameron Ling and Josh Franco pulling it apart perfectly for you. The fight for territory in the middle of the ground. Out of the middle of the goal kicker, Perkins. Hand pass to Draper. Goes running away. Just got a kick forward. Picked off by Burton for the power. Kicks back over halfway. Here's Cox. His hand pass turned over by Georgiani's hand pass to Rosie. Downhill into the goal. He's got another. Gee, his brother can really go. Connor Rosie with a couple, and he has got it on a string tonight. Port Adelaide 6 straight 36, Essendon 4-4-28. The Power return to an 8-point advantage. 8 gone second term. Josh Franco on ABC Sport.
What I will say to that is, oh my goodness. Connor Rosie in the centre bounce, the desperation to get the Draper to affect that kick, but then to recognise the turnover and react offensively, to get on the fly, get forward, provide that option ahead of the footy, and then finish with a magnificent goal. Take a bow, Connor.
You're so right, and you see the difference between the very, very best.
Yeah.
The two-way running, he put the work in first, chance to then attack.
Yeah.
So he'd be exhausted as well, but could still finish cruising on 50. What a player.
Yeah. Dual Australian, best and fairest as well. Port, great goal, a second for him tonight as Soldo wins it down and tapped to himself. Going to Horn Francis running behind. I'll kick the ball out towards the commentary wing here, Port, and then was cleverly done. Nicely done by Dersma. Shares it with Perkins. Dersma again across half-back. Not a great hand pass. Stolen by Georgiades. Hand passes to Finlayson just inside forward 50. Not sure what Finlayson was doing. Had players all over him, just went short. And then Kelly looks to turn it over as well. Boat hand passes off the ground straight into traffic. Umpire says we'll ball it up. Horn Francis had nowhere to go.
I've got a tip for you, Jeremy. If that's Connor Rosie running past you inside 50, just handball to him. Don't do anything else. Give it to him.
That one down by Goldstein of the Bombers. Horn Francis out after it. Broken tackle. Got hands to it. Gave it to Georgiades. Spinning out of trouble. Mead was tackled and well tackled as well. Perkins got him and he'll win the free kick for holding the ball. Desperately needed to be made. Perfectly executed. The Bombers move it short.
They need to adjust on Rosie though now. So he's run through, kicked a goal. He ran through. If he got the handball from Finlayson, then would have been another goal.
Oh, Redmond marks the kick and then goes wide, and that's knocked out of play. Coming across and spoiling Bergman, and Farrell over the top finds the safety of the boundary line.
And when that tackle was laid, Rosie was forward of the play by himself again. So that's 3 genuine goal-kicking opportunities, one of which he kicked. They need to adjust their starting points on the Port skipper.
Cameron Ling on ABC Sport from the boundary throw-in. Parrish had it, lost it, and the pressure from Butters falls Essendon's way. Setterfield through the hands of Caldwell, and now Dersma kicks down the boundary line, just pitches inside before going out, and we'll have a boundary throw-in. The Port fans aren't happy about that from their seats, and we'll have a throw-in right next to the interchange gates. Second leg of a doubleheader on Friday night. Earlier, Brisbane by 70 over North. Corbin Middlemass and Clint Weldon calling the footy. Cameron Ling, Josh Franco, your ABC Sport experts. And Aaron Bryans is on the boundary. It is Port Adelaide by 8 points from the boundary throw-in. Comes down Merritt's way. Hand pass finds Dersma. High up and under down to half forward. Floating across Soldo. Got a hand on it. Trickles towards the boundary line. Port are going to keep it alive. Lockie Jones. Hand pass back towards Farrell, who's crunched front on in the tackle. And we'll have a ball up about 60 metres out from the Bombers' goal at right half forward.
There's been some ferocious tackling tonight. In desperation to win the footy from both of these sides. Start of the week either side of the top 8. Bombers get hands to it now first. Came to Dersma, to Parrish. Hand pass over the shoulder. Dersma was taken high. Got to be a free kick. Surely it is. Took a while to get there. Dersma will come back. The Butters almost took his head off. He's got it at right half forward here, Dersma. A couple of metres in from the boundary. He'll put it towards the hot spot. Draper out after it flew, couldn't mark. Spill down to Houston. Houston's tackled immediately. Asked for holding the ball here, the Bombers. They're not going to get it. I thought Draper was going to get there. Came from a mile back, set himself flew. Couldn't quite mark. Here he is again under the ruck contest. Tapped it down the throat of Boak though. And Aliir will clear for Port.
Kicks into the centre square at the drop. Redmond and Also, McEntee both bang bodies. Ball spits out towards Martin. Hand pass found to Kelly. He's caught immediately. Georgiades missed Rosie with the handball. Rosie inadvertently soccers it away. Menzies inside 50 for Essendon. Hand pass finds Martin. High half forward. Gives it to Merritt. Jams it on the boot. Looks for Jones. Hands on it from Bergman and Radaglia. Ball hits the deck. Draper passing through but coughs it up. And Aaliyah can kick it out of the defensive arc. Very composed. Finds Dixon. Marks at half-back for Port Adelaide. The Power by 8 points. 12 gone in the second.
To meet across half-back. They'll swing it forward through Rosie. Now to Houston from the middle of the ground. Sends it inside forward 50. He wanted Rioli. It bounces behind him. Finlayson's there. Just needs to soccer it forward. And does. There was a despairing dive on the line from Laverty. But Finlayson was able to get enough boot to ball to see it across the goal line for a major. Port have got their 7th, and they've got a game-high lead of 14. 13 gone in the second term. Port 7 straight 42 to Essendon 4-4-28. Friday night footy. It's Gather Round on the ABC Sport.
And I think if you look at Port Adelaide's blueprint on how they want to move the ball from their D50 into their 450, once again we see their absolute thirst to go back through the middle of the ground. Dixon, I think it was, took the mark, goes back through the corridor, and it's interesting when you look at statistically over the first few rounds, they mark the ball a lot inside 450 Port Adelaide. That's because they get so much speed on the ball, and it's so difficult to defend.
And that's where the Bombers have struggled to stop the transition off the back flank. Using the corridor, well outlined. Josh Franco on ABC Sport. Port Adelaide out by 14 points. Back in the middle. Burst speed again. Rosie runs onto it. Jams it on the boot. Kicks inside 50. They all miss it. It's out the back again. Chase on for the loose ball. Nick Martin ushers it through for a rush behind. And Port Adelaide fall to 7-1. Essendon 4-4. The Power by 15. A game high. 14 gone in the second on ABC Sport. Aaron Bryans on the boundary.
Corbin, there was some concern for the Power faithful as they saw Todd Marshall hobble his way to the bench. Looked like a back of the knee issue on the left-hand side. Got a bit of a rub down. They're already chatting tactics with him. I imagine he'll be back out there in a few minutes' time.
Little run from Martin to the right back pocket. Just mark through Heppel. We enjoyed watching Georgiades and Martin play on each other. Subiaco premiership players from the Colts team of 2018. Hit beyond defensive 50 from Essendon. Sockered forward by Houston. Bounces back to Rioli. Gathered it beautifully with the right. He's at left half forward. Measures the kick. Couldn't quite get enough on it. Perfectly weighted for Laverty to mark defensively for the Bombers. And he'll move it short again here. Oh no, they're going to bring it back. He wasn't over the mark. I thought Essendon going to get it off to Caldwell. We'll come back to Laverty, who's got it at full-back. They trail by 15 points. Essendon 14 gone in the second. Mitch Turner sending me that stat. I can't claim it, Corey. It wasn't me.
5 of the last 6 goals in the game for Port Adelaide now as Laverty goes long down the wing. Spills to Heppel. Hand pass forward to Hobbs. Onto his right side. Kicks from in front of the interchange gates down to half forward. At the drop, Aaliyah skids in, takes the mark.
Brilliant, but it was the work he did before he skidded in to take that mark. Just knew where the ball was going to drop. Got Menzies out of the way. Came back to the footy at his great marking craft.
Aaliyah finds Horne-Francis. They come wide now, so he marks, just taps it over the top to Farrell. 2 Power players run away from it. Dersmer, his old mate, hand pass back the other way for Essendon, but it trickles out of bounds. As Harry Jones and Lockie Jones, 2 lads, namesakes, bumping each other.
I think Jones was the intended target there.
Josh, what am I watching here? Connor Rosie is basically by himself at this stoppage. He's been living by himself in this game.
He's had a heap of it. Kicked a couple of goals. Been the best player on the ground so far from the boundary throw-in. Soldo grabs it off the bounce and he's tackled now by Hobbs.
Rosie's trying to do the right thing, asking where he's supposed to be. Trust me, Connor, just stay there where you are.
And get the ball.
Yep.
Off the hands of Soldo down to Horne-Francis. Squeezes the kick to centre half forward. Knocked down. McEntee passing through. Shrugs the tackle. Gives it to Burne-Jones. Back to McEntee. Still at high half forward. Hand pass to Horne-Francis again. To Burton. Kicks inside 50. Georgiades leading up out of the goal square. Marks 35 out. Dead in front. And Port Adelaide a chance to try and thump through another.
And ominous signs at the moment, I reckon, for Essendon. Port Adelaide looking irresistible currently. Inside 50s this quarter, 10-4 and dominating field position.
And coming out of that stoppage, there were just options galore. Yeah. And again, it was Rosie leaving it, but they all left together. Horne-Francis left, and there were options everywhere. In the end, both chose the right one going forward.
It's all happening at the moment for Port. Georgiades for his second. Hits the post. Posts have been hit a fair bit down that cathedral end of the ground. Another one thumps in to the post here. Port by 16 points, so the lead high, or game high margin, keeps growing. 16.5 travelled in this second term. Port Adelaide by 16 on ABC Sport.
McGrath, so you can tell who from the booze. Dersma, former power player, now in the Bombers colours. To Mark, just beyond defensive 50, standing between right half back and centre half back. He'll go back into the middle of the ground to Laverty. Continue to run across half back, receive the hand pass, and then measures the kick nicely. Put out towards left half back again to Kelly, who can set things up once more.
There's no penetration though at the moment. Porter well set. The tall defenders are pretty confident. Going to force the long one down the line.
Cox to do just that. Kicks towards left half back. Houston fluid it. A fist to the footy. Spilled down. Drew it to tap it back inboard for the power. Now to Farrell. Lovely hand pass. Meant to release Boat, couldn't quite handle it. Tackled to ground by Kelly. Knocked around by Martin. Still there to be won. Drew, hand pass knocked down. Perkins onto it. To Kelly again for the Bombers. Kick towards left half forward. Soldo's back there. Mark not playing. Touched on the way through. Soldo under real pressure, taken high. Gresham applied the pressure, took him to ground. The Bombers giving away the free kick.
Dangerous tackle, I reckon it was in the end.
Rocky Jones takes it by hand away to Burton, who goes straight down the pipe as his Port's wad finds Dixon. Just Velcro for hands as he takes the mark front edge of the centre square, kicks inside 50, not a good one. Reaches Rioli on the hop, trying to hand it out to McEntee, threads a hand pass, wanted Drew, crashes into Perkins, ball slips out. Dersma centre half back for Essendon. Parrish's hand pass, receives it, gives it to Georgiades. Parrish follows up with the tackle. And we'll have a ball up, centre half forward for Port Adelaide. Aaron Bryans on the boundary.
Will be another Port superstar worse for wear. Zach Butters, a heavy hip and shoulder with Ben Hobbs, came off clutching his right hip. He's refusing to get any attention from the doctors. Still on his haunches, but wanting to go back out there.
Finlayson had it, kicked straight into traffic. McGrath did well to gather and then sent it out to Harrison Jones, who marks it left half back. Is it for the Bombers? The blue boots, sends it out to Cox. Yes. Trots back.
To your point too, Lingy, now they're just not penetrating the game, are they? Allowing Port Adelaide to get set up defensively behind the ball.
Kelly goes long now towards left half forward. Front position, Jones takes the marks for the Bombers. Harrison Jones was up. Stands back with his blue boots. Long hair flowing behind. Nothing immediately showing. It's a congested forward line. He'll kick inside, or meant to go inside forward 50, but it's chopped off by Houston. The 150 gamer tonight has marked it. He's got it at right half back for Port.
Kept quiet by Neil Bullen last week. Houston kicks to the wing. Burn Jones at the drop, takes the mark on the wing. Port up and going here. Lays a hand pass off to Horn Francis, who's been busy in the term. Kicks down to Rosie in front of the boundary line. Rosie trying to keep it alive. Paddles it to his own advantage. He's getting the free. And he's jumped retoked by Nick Martin. And a free kick for Connor Rosie out wide at right half forward.
It was clearly there. He just smartly tapped it on. Martin grabbed at him. He knew he was in trouble, Martin. He realised that if Rosie had kept going and got past him, he was going to run to about 15 and kick a goal. So at least he's forced Rosie to have a shot from the boundary, make it a bit tougher, but the amount of skill on this bloke is probably just an easy kick for him.
It's a tough kick too. He's trying to move the drinks and the chairs out of the way. Up against the advertising hoardings. He's having a shot on the drop punt. He misses near side. Port Adelaide have been lights out in this second term. 7-3 to 4-4. It's the Power by 17 points. The game high margin extends. Time on second term.
Balls at left half forward for Port as Mead gathers it. To back from whence it came. Rioli out. Couldn't mark. Draper looks the soccer away. Scooped up by Perkins. Hand pass to Setterfield. Through. Ball to boot. Got it into the middle of the ground. Hobbs couldn't take it cleanly. Parrish gets it off the deck. Hand pass back into traffic. Now McGrath looks to gather. Umpire spotted a free kick out of all of that. It'll go the way of the Bombers. Taken here. Quickly towards the commentary wing from the boot of Perkins. It comes now to Merritt. Marks in front of Port's interchange gates. Looks to play on quickly. Wheels around. Sends it into the right forward pocket. Oh, going up and trying to spoil it away. That was ugly for a moment. Port very happy the way that they landed then because, well, as we said, that Jones, that's the Lockie version, almost went out from under him. Ball was locked in. It's going to be a ball up right half forward for the Bombers, who could do with a goal about now.
Get to Aaron in just a moment. Jaden Laverty coming off with the trainer close by from the restart. Horn Francis trying to burst through a tackle, lost it in the defensive 50. Pack forms up, says holding the ball. He took on... Oh, hang on. They're going to ping Ben Hobbs for that.
Yeah,
so Hobbs like the tackle. The ball came out. Hobbs sat on it. He was tackled, and the ump said you didn't do enough to get it out.
Well, I don't think he tackled Horn Francis. I reckon he just jarred the ball free with the contact and then jumped on top of it.
Kicks into the corridor, trying to mark Dixon. Can't. Spills down. Lockie Jones had it, lost it. Butters hands it out to Mead. Hot footy again. Merritt tackles him, holding the ball. Free kick, Essendon. Merritt goes inside the forward 50. Kick into the pocket. Horn Francis takes the intercept mark. And the kid with all the tricks has had a big second turn. The former number 1 pick. He goes short to the number 1 in Rosie. Aaron Bryans is on the boundary. Aaron.
Corby, poor Jaden Laverty's just caught one below the belt. He's in a world of hurt, super winded, but he'll be right to go.
Kick down the commentary wing. Dixon able to get a touch on it. Rioli running by, couldn't gather. Merritt looks to drag it in. Going to hand pass away. Umpire spotted free kick here. Will come back the way of Merritt.
He's been good, Merritt.
Yeah, he's trying to lift him. He's also trying to get the ball going quicker.
Yeah.
Kicks Port into the middle. Setterfield won it down against Rosie. Perkins dives on the football, bounces up quickly, gave it to Parrish, pops it up into the air towards left half forward, coming out to meet at Langford. Awkward bounce for him. He tries to turn. Zerk Thatcher got there first, slapped it forward. Kelly intercepts, working it forward again through Martin. They have it at the left half forward position on the ground, and then Perkins takes it over the boundary line for a throw in. Let's head downstairs. Boundary side, Aaron Bryans.
Clint, Travis Boak's heading down into the rooms what I presume to be a concussion test. He looked totally fine on the bench after a heavy tackle, but the doctors were talking, looking at the vision, converging, and finally made the decision that they're going to check him out.
Thanks, Aaron. Neither sub used so far, so Jace Burgoyne for Port and Nick Hine for Essendon. As we tick towards half-time, Port up by 16 from the boundary throw-in. Socket forward by Draper, picked off by Port Adelaide. Houston hand pass to Rosie.
Wow.
What a night he's having as he gets out of trouble and powers away with the footy. Kicks forward, but it's a turnover, and Mackay takes the intercept mark. Gee, he's had a half a footy, Connor Rosie. Couple of goals. We'll get the breakdown from him for this night so far after he's busy in the opening term. He's up to 19 touches, 8 contested. The Bombers head inside 50 once more. Hobbs goes up trying to mark Khan. Comes down Port Adelaide's way. Houston, hand pass out wide to Mead. Chucks it on the left boot, bounces it down the wing. Picked off by Heppel for Essendon. Hand pass to the current skipper as Merritt meshes it along the boundary line, and Harry Jones takes the mark. Right half forward, about 60 out. Port by 17.
Harry Jones to full forward for the Bombers. Floating across. Soldo might have been taken high. Ball still there to be won. Port through Burton. Hand passes back to his defensive goal square. And then Bergman will kick beyond defensive 50 to right half back. Good mark, Dixon. In front of Mackay. He drags it down. And he's got it for Port, and he takes a couple of breaths. Elects to send it back inside defensive 50. Boak with it now. Go beyond defensive 50. That's Burton. It's towards the outer side of the ground. Punched forward here by Cox. Back there, McEntee looks to tap it to his own advantage. He's able to gather. Can he break the tackle of McGrath? Got the hand pass out anyway. On to Marshall. Heads in the direction of Georgiades. Hands to it. Couldn't mark. Kelly couldn't gather. Rioli! Oh, that would have been something. That would have been something as he got it.
They're going to check it.
Rioli out of nothing has been able to throw it on the boot, snap around the body. He wasn't sure if it had touched on the way through. Umpire reckons it's a goal. So does Corbin Middlemass. Has it touched the post?
I'm not willing to call it. I'm just saying that's what the umpire said, Clint.
Oh, sorry.
I don't want to put him on the line here, but that is, the umpire said it was a soft call goal.
Yep, that's right. He's done well. He was surrounded. Score review. It is a goal. Willie's got his second from something truly special. Port Adelaide, they lead by 23 points, 8-3-51. to Essendon, 4-4-28. 27 minutes gone in the second term. Aaron Bryans is on the boundary.
The club doctors are earning their paycheck in this quarter. Jaden Laverty, who looked like he copped a knock quite low, lower abdominal region, came off the ground fairly winded, head over his in haunches, and every time he tried to stand up, he just struggled to really gain his breath and looked in a little bit of pain, and eventually now he's actually had to go down into the rooms of the doctors in what could be a bit of an unorthodox injury.
Also, too, fella, just sense that half-time can't come quick enough for the Bombers. They're on the ropes in boxing terms. They need the bell to go just to gather their thoughts and regroup, and because at the moment they're under siege.
They've kicked 6 of the last 7 in the game, Port Adelaide. New game high, 23 points the Powers way. A ruckman wrestle for it. Ball hits the deck. Drew's clean. Hand pass to Farrell. The lefty kicks inside the forward arc for Port. Punched away by Mackay. Hits the deck. Rosie's on it again. Again, there's no one with him. He turns. He snaps for his third. Connor Rosie is having a night out. The Port Adelaide number 1 is their special one. Port Adelaide by 29 points. They keep on growing. 28 minutes into the second term. Port 9-3-57. Essendon 4-4-28. Cameron Lang on ABC Sport.
I know the scoreboard doesn't say it just yet. It leads 29 points. But the midfield domination is massive right now. Rosie is, as you said, Corbs, having a night out. 3 goals and the 20 disposals. Throw in 4 clearances and 7 score involvements. But that Essendon midfield that we had questions about before the game, Josh, they cannot go with any of them. Horn Francis is in there, Drew's in there. They're all getting their hands on the footy.
And there's a point where you've got to put the clamps on Rosie. You can't let him running around like an unregistered dog, dominating this contest.
Draper Vincent for the Bombers in the ruck contest. Looks to just knock it forward. Comes out here to Drew. Umpire spotted a free kick. It'll be the way of Port Adelaide.
Because the other thing as well, once the mid gets on top, that's when the Houstons and the Farrells and the Burtons start to give that run and penetration off half back.
So this is Rioli. Kicks Port towards full forward. Dixon had hands on it. Couldn't mark. Rosie's over the top of it once more. Stringer goes in, picks it up. Under pressure, ball stolen by Finlayson. Hand pass to no one in particular. Heppel got a hand pass to McGrath. Kicks straight into Drew. Ricocheted off Marshall. Kicks up into the air. Martin's back there. Marks the ball coming over his right shoulder. He's got it in the left back pocket. Marks defensively for the Bombers. Goes across the face to Mackay, who marks. Essendon needs something quickly. Martin Wren behind Mackay. Received the hand pass. Now moves it on to McGrath. Bounces a kick towards right half back. Zirk Thatcher, the former Bomber, got there first. Hit back inside forward 50. Draper didn't attack it. Ball bounces away from him. Came to Finlayson. Oh, that will hurt Essendon. He's got his seconds right on half time. And for so many reasons, that is an enormous slap in the face of the Bombers already battling. Port saw the opportunity and converted to take their lead at the main break to a game-high 35 points. 10-3-63 Port. The Bombers 4-4-28.
Oh, jeez. What an end of the quarter after the comments from Cameron Lang and Josh Franco about half-time not coming quick enough for Essendon. Port Adelaide kicked 2 to end the term in the space of about a minute, and as a result that game-high margin balloons all the way out to 35 points. They end up kicking the last 5 goals of the term. Port Adelaide, they've got 8 of the last 9 in the game. The goal kickers, 3 for Connor Rosie, who's had himself a half a footy, 20 disposals, 3 goals won, 7 score involvements, 9 contested possessions, and then 2 each for Finlayson and Willie Rioli, 1 for Marshall, Burn-Jones and Georgiades on his return. While for Essendon, Jade Gresham kicked 2. They both came in the opening quarter. 1 for Stringer, and Perkins kicked their only goal in that second quarter. It is Port Adelaide by 35 at the half. Friday night footy on ABC Sport. Corbin Middlemass and Clint Wilden calling the action, and our ABC Sport experts. Former Port Adelaide champ Josh Franco alongside the 3-time premiership cap Cameron Lang.
Well, if you wanted that last little passage you played, Josh, where Finlayson kicks the goal, the panic by the Essendon defenders, what causes that reaction, that panic, that worry, that second guessing is midfield domination. The ball is living there, coming in there super quick, and then you've got a bunch of Essendon players going, I don't know if I want it. No, should I go? And too late. Goal to Finlayson. That was a complete smashing through the middle of the ground by Port.
It was, and even going back to that last bit of play, I think they took a mark. It was a held ball. You'd be pretty confident the players would know the state of the game and the state of the court, and there's only probably 20 seconds left on the clock. But he decided, whoever had the ball, I don't know who it was, but decided to handball, got the ball live, and then Port Adelaide were able to capitalise in terms of that dominance and that contested ball, and then turn it over, and Finlayson finished with a goal on the siren. But you talk about dominance. Connor Rosie, he's a star. We can't speak highly enough of him. I hope listeners take this the right way. He only had 7 disposals. For the dominance he had in that second quarter, it's probably the best 7 disposal quarter I've ever seen. 2 goals, 1. But what's equally as impressive as his ability to hit the scoreboard is his defensive action, chasing, tackling, harassing, pressure, and that never give up, never say die attitude.
So why is he able to attend stoppages, which you pointed out, Lingy, during that quarter, and there's just no one within cooee of him?
I have no idea. It's too often we hear that we'll back our midfield structure and our mechanisms and our whatever in. That's fine, okay. You've got to trust your midfielders. You certainly got some really good midfielders yourself. But you also have to have an awareness of, okay, but this team has a really good midfield, and in particular, they've got 1 or 2 players who are just A++ footballers. Yeah. Josh touched on this 2 minutes into the game. Said, if Connor Rosie or Zach Butters are going to get the ball in the middle of the ground from clearances, and they are because they're so damn good, they are going to get it going away from their goal or under enormous pressure where they're kicking the ball sideways. Yeah. No way will they ever exit the front of a stoppage. But not only have we seen them exit the front of the stoppage, we've seen Connor keep running by himself, getting inside forward 50. Metres gained sometimes can be a bit of a nothing stat. He's on track. He's just under on track for 1,000 metres gained in this game. It's ridiculous. They've got to go near him. That's too much.
Well, the other thing to that too, Lingy, is having been involved in the AFL system as a coach, I know sides are hesitant to put a shutdown tagger on in the modern game, if you like. You're obviously a great tagger back when you played, but there comes a point where there's enough coaches and enough brain power in the box where they've got to recognise, and you called it up here, and we all called it up, and we could all see it with our own eyes, that how he was just ripping this game apart. So there comes a point in time where maybe the message went down and the instruction didn't get followed. I don't know, but you've got to put the clamps on him, someone like it.
Friday night footy on ABC Sport as gather round continues. The winners so far, Melbourne last night by 15 over Adelaide, and Brisbane by 70 points on the parade in Norwood over North Melbourne. It's half-time here, and Port Adelaide have kicked the last 5 goals. They lead by 35 points. Aaron Bryans is on the boundary. Aaron, any update on Travis Pope?
Corby, a mixed bag for the Port Adelaide faithful. I had a chat to the club. It's not a concussion test from that tackle that he suffered in the second quarter, but the landing from it. So the player who fell on top of him has actually hurt his back. So the doctors are checking him out in the rooms at the moment, but a bit immobile, and that's, I guess, the issue for him at the moment.
Okay, so no update as yet as to whether he's able to return or not?
Not at this stage, Corby.
Yep. Thanks, Aaron. So that's the Travis Spoke side of it. And for Essendon, Jaden Laverty came off, ended the quarter on the bench. He was hit below the belt, and as a result, took a little bit of time to recover, as we can understand, Lenny. So hopefully he'll be back for Essendon in the second half. Nick Hind is the sub for the Bombers, and Jace Burgoyne for Port. Neither of them used to this stage of the match. Now the SMS number is 0437 774 774. I'm keen to hear from our listeners what they make of gather round. So obviously we're lucky enough we get to come across slinging experience footy in this part of the world. Josh, you live here and the whole competition comes to town. But not everyone is here this weekend, whether it resonates the same way for people that can't actually make the trip, how they feel about it, how they're engaging with it from afar. So 0437 774 774. I think 38% of tickets sold have been from people interstate, so there are also a lot of people, I'm sure, here listening, both based in South Australia and that have come from elsewhere, that are swept up in the gather round experience. We want to hear from everyone. 0437 774 774. And people in Victoria and WA, footy heartland states. We're only 5 weeks into the season, and 2 of them, there's been no footy there, given opening round was played in the northern states and obviously gather round the entire weekend in South Australia. So let us know what you think on the SMS, 0437 774 774. More from Josh Franco and Cameron Ling coming up. Clint Wilden will be back to call the second half. Aaron Bryans on the boundary. And my name's Corbin Middlemass. We will pause momentarily from Adelaide Oval. The third quarter is not that far away, but in the meantime, let's see what's happening in the ABC newsroom.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. Torrential rain and potential flooding is expected along much of Australia's east coast. In Queensland, flash flooding's occurring right across the south of the state, with authorities warning people against travelling to the west as roads could become cut off. In New South Wales, authorities are warning of severe flash flooding across parts of Sydney, the Illawarra, Blue Mountains and Hunter regions. The New South Wales State Emergency Services Dallas Burns says there could be up to 200 millimetres on the Illawarra escarpment, while gusty winds are also a concern.
Storm damage is going to cause some more significant work for us, especially after that rain all day. We've got wet soils where the root systems of trees will be loosened, and we're expecting gusts up to 90 kilometres an hour across a large swathe of New South Wales.
Lawyers for Network 10 have argued in the federal court the only way the Seven Network could be in possession of sensitive court material relating to Bruce Lehrmann's criminal case was if he gave it to them. Jade Toomey explains.
The argument is a key part of 10's revived defence in the defamation case brought by Mr Lehrmann. It was launched after his criminal trial for the alleged rape of Brittany Higgins was abandoned with no findings against him. 10 is trying to argue that Mr Lehrmann breached court rules and lied to the court in giving documents to Spotlight producers that were prepared for the criminal trial but never tendered. Mr Lehrmann denies this. They're also relying on sordid allegations by former Spotlight producer Taylor Auerbach to make arguments about Mr Lehrmann's credibility. Lawyers for Mr Lehrmann will have their chance to respond.
Israel says it will take steps to increase the flow of humanitarian aid into Gaza and reopen a key border crossing connecting to the Strip's north. Benjamin Netanyahu's office announced plans after the Israeli Prime Minister finished a call with the US President Joe Biden. The White House says Mr Biden warned that his future support for the war depends on Israel making changes to protect civilians and aid workers. Meanwhile, the parents of a World Central Kitchen charity worker say their son's killing in an Israeli airstrike was a crime. American-Canadian dual national Jacob Flickinger is among 7 aid workers who were killed earlier this week, including Australian Zomi Frankham, while they were delivering food in Gaza. Israel says it misidentified the convoy that the workers were travelling in, but the charity's founder says it told the IDF where it was going beforehand in vehicles that were clearly marked. Jacob's mother, Sylvia, says Israel's explanation is a joke.
They're saying it in order to protect their own self. I think that, it was meant. They wanted to do it in a way that they want to keep on starving refugees out there.
Rescuers in Taiwan are facing the threat of further landslides and rockfalls as they search for a dozen people still missing after this week's earthquake. The death toll has risen to 12, while some of those stranded have been brought to safety. Wednesday's 7.2 magnitude quake hit in a sparsely populated, largely rural eastern county of Hualien, stranding hundreds of people in a national park. Taiwan's fire department says 13 people are still missing. 3 of them are foreigners, including 2 Australians. Argentina is facing what it expects to be the worst ever dengue season, and as a result, it's suffering from serious shortage of insect repellent. Despite rising number of cases, the mosquito-borne disease, many supermarkets and pharmacies are displaying no repellent signs. Dengue can cause serious illness and even death, particularly among the elderly. Cases of dengue are more than 2,000% higher than the equivalent period last year, particularly in the capital, Buenos Aires. Residents are voicing concerns following the discovery of asbestos in soil at a park in Melbourne's north. The material was found on 2 occasions during major upgrades at Hoskin Reserve in Coburg North. Merribeck Council says it's non-friable asbestos, which means it can't be released into the air. Margaret Mary Cashin lives nearby and says the council should have taken earlier action.
I'm feeling quite horrified. I'm horrified at the attitude of council. I'm horrified by the fact that they haven't done their due diligence, seemingly.
The council says most of the park has been closed since January and the material will be removed. And the Victorian Health Department is warning about the dangers of poisonous mushrooms. The government there says mushrooms purchased from a supermarket and other reputable sources are safe to eat, but those growing in home gardens should be removed to prevent any harm to children and animals. Death cap and yellow staining mushrooms occur as the weather becomes wetter and cooler. ABC News. You can get more news at any time by downloading the ABC Listen app.
Here's my top footy tip for the season. You can get your games live and ad-free on the ABC Listen app. I know, right? AFL, NRL, men's, women's. Whatever footy you're after, we've got you covered. Every goal, try, mark and tackle. Called by ABC Sports expert commentary team. This season on the home of 100% pure footy, the ABC Listen app.
You're listening to the AFL Gather Round. AFL. On radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And take us with you on the ABC Listen app.
Soldo, who won it down for Port to me. Now to Bert Jones from 48 metres out. Oh, what a goal kicker he has become. Now Martin has it. Shy of the attacking edge of the centre square for Essendon. Stabs the pass inside forward 50 and hits Perkins on the chest. Little skip for Hopper to jump. He's into his run now. He's right in front. Goal umpire doesn't have to move. That's a much-needed goal for the Bombers. Here's Cox. His hand pass turned over by Georgiani's hand pass to Rosie. Downhill into the goal. He's got another. Genie's brother can really go. Connor Rosie with a couple. And he has got it on a string tonight. From the middle of the ground. Sends it inside forward 50. He wanted Riolia. Bounces behind him. Finlayson's there. Just needs to soccer it forward. And does. There was a despairing dive on the line from Roberti. But Finlayson was able to get enough boot to ball to see it across the goal line for a major. Punched away by Mackay, hits the deck. Rosie's on it again. Again, there's no one with him. He turns, he snaps for his third. Connor Rosie is having a night out. The Port Adelaide number one is their special one. Sir Thatcher, the former Bomber, got there first. He back inside forward 50. Oh, Draper didn't attack it. Ball bounced away from him. Came to Finlayson. Oh, that will hurt Essendon. He's got his seconds right on half-time.
The 2024 AFL Gather Round.
On your radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
Sounds there from the second term. It was all Port Adelaide, 6-1. They kicked the last 5 of the quarter, and Port Adelaide have pulled out to a new game high. It is 35 points, Port Adelaide's lead at halftime. The third quarter just moments away. My name's Corbin Middlemass. Clint Wilden's here to call the footy. Cameron Ling, the 3-time premiership cap, the former Port Adelaide superstar Josh Franco, and Aaron Bryans is on the boundary. The Oz Kickers are just finishing up their work. We are 6 quarters into a double header on Friday of Gather Round. So earlier tonight it was the Brisbane Lions by 70 points over North Melbourne out at the parade in Norwood in front of over 9,000 fans. 70 points was the win for Brisbane. So Joe Danaher with 5 goals, 4, and Eric Hipwood with 3 goals. So running themselves back into form, the Brisbane Lions chalking up their first win of the new season up against the hapless Roos. And some news out of the MRO following last night's win. Melbourne defeating Adelaide by 15 points, but they've lost Keziah Pickett for next week against Brisbane. So the 2 winners of Gather Round so far will play each other next Thursday night. Keziah Pickett offered 1 match by the match review officer following his late hit on Jake Saligo. Now the SMS number is 0437 774 774. The question was around Gather Round. So 2 states, being Victoria and WA, football heartlands, have both been frozen out as such in the first 5 weeks of the season. Didn't get to participate in opening round. And then same again here in Gather Round. So we're lucky enough, we come across, get swept up in the atmosphere of Gather Round. But how is it translating to you at home, and perhaps if you're not in Adelaide this weekend? Marcus in South Melbourne. WA teams love Gather Round as it halves the plane trip. I love Gather Round. Go the Dockers tomorrow in the main match. How does that work out, Clint, as someone from WA?
It's still a plane trip, and it's still, speaking of someone who got off the plane a couple of hours ago, it's still quite a long one. I reckon the issue for the WA clubs is they don't travel in pre-season. The AFL just has to say, so one of the Melbourne clubs, one of the ones that they give an extra 8 or 9 million to, you're going to Perth for pre-season. And so if WA clubs don't have to fly pre-season, that's one less trip they have to make. This year, they had to come to Adelaide, both of them. And so I reckon that's the way. Gather Round's fantastic. You just have to deal with it. Keep it. I know that there's some inequalities. There's inequalities all over the place. You can balance that out by just making the WA clubs not travel in pre-season, and the Melbourne teams, with respect, a lot of them don't have to travel enough. That's how you solve that problem.
Fair call.
A bit more off the SMS, listening to the footy while driving a double back to Melbourne from Adelaide. From Dave the Truckie, go the Pies on Sunday. Thanks, Dave. Are Essendon the slowest learners in the AFL, Lingy? No, mate, that history. Nothing has changed you could transition at snail's pace against their defence. I give up from Ron. So, frustrated Essendon fan?
That's a decent question, Ron, because having watched and been at the ground for the Sydney game and watching what Heaney and Goulden and Warner all did.
Remember that Warner run from the right back pocket went all the way.
It reminds us a lot of what Connor Rosie is doing right now.
Love the concept of gather round. Would love it more if I was there, feeling a bit of FOMO. But it's good motivation to make it over next year. Go the Blues from Tom in Heidelberg Heights. I'm in the best place to be for gather round. Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
Happy to remain in exile until the entry of the Tassie Devils. Only then will the entire nation be gathered around a truly national competition from Scott. And what do I think of gather round from Tim in Balaclava? I really enjoyed going to the Storm game last night. A cracker. The Storm edging out the Brisbane Broncos. I guess thank you to the AFL for promoting other codes in Melbourne from Tim. So no footy back in
Tim.
Melbourne this weekend. The SMS number 0437 774 774. Corbin Middlemass and Clint Wilden. Josh Franco alongside Cameron Ling. And Aaron Bryans is on the boundary. The Bombers, they looked out on their feet, Josh, towards the end of that quarter. If you're Brad Scott, what are you looking for here in the opening stages of this third term?
You need a response. I mean, I know it sounds pretty simple, but you need to put it potentially on the leaders. I think to the point of the SMS that came in, their ball movement needs to be, I think, more forward and penetrate the game more with speed and obviously, distance and field position. And I think also, too, guys like a Stringer who looked really dangerous in that first quarter, fell out of the game in the second, so they'd be looking at a lift from him. And I guess overall they need to start this quarter really well, because for that second quarter, Port Adelaide dominated field position. They dominated just about every stat.
It's a high-pressure game, so I get at times the kicking efficiency is going to be down a little bit, but Essendon are kicking at 54% kicking efficiency. That's really bad. So high 60s is good to very good. If you're hitting 70%, outstanding. But at 54%, you are just giving the ball back to Port Adelaide too many times to let them use their weapons.
If you're listening to the earlier game tonight between Brisbane and North Melbourne, we had David Koch in the box, the chairman of the Port Adelaide Football Club pre-game. If you missed it, wide-ranging interview, everything from gather round to Norwood entering the comp, about going back to China. Everything was covered in this wide-ranging chat. It is available on the ABC Sport website, abc.net.au/sport, or in the Best of ABC Sport folder in the podcast store. Aaron Bryant is with us on the boundary as
Colin. Port Adelaide has activated its sub, Jace Burgoyne, warming up ahead of the second half. No sign of Travis Boak with that back injury in the opening half. He's still down in the rooms being checked out by the doctors.
One other player I reckon has got under the guard a little bit is Horn Francis. Only the 4 disposals in the first quarter, but he's up to 16 for the half, and he, again, probably living in the shadow of Connor Rosie, but he's had an influence in the game as well.
About concern for Travis Boak, subbed out in game number 352. Gee, the first 5 minutes are going to be big here for Essendon. They've conceded the last 5 goals of the game. The home team out by 35 points, which is a game high. Has this game got another twist in it yet? On ABC Sport, here's Clint Wilden.
We're underway. Second half, both rucks out of tap. It came down to Horn Francis. Oh, the Teal Hornet bursts away. Fires it towards full forward. Couldn't find Marshall. Good mark at the back. Laverty had it.
Is that what you're talking about, Josh?
Yeah.
Straight out the middle of that stoppage to Horn Francis.
Is that the Teal Hornet?
The Teal Hornet.
That's unbelievable.
Oh. You've heard of the Green Hornet, surely. Suddenly came to me. Nothing like a bit of pop culture. Here he is again. Horn Francis has it at right half forward. You heard of the Green Hornet, Gordon?
This is the 3-quarter kick Port Adelaide like. Give their forwards a run and jump at it.
It could be the right age, though. John.
There it is.
Horn Francis goes looking for Dixon. It spilled down to Finlayson. Looks to knock it forward. Marshall swung the left boot at it. Couldn't quite get contact that he wanted. McGrath up in the air, and it's gone out of bounds on the full. This will be a free kick.
Have another kick. What? Teal Hornet?
A Teal Hornet.
I don't know if it's going to stick.
I don't know. I just make things up. I don't plan these things, Wingy. They just random nonsense comes into my head. You've worked with me enough to know that. Now, here's Horn Francis, just where the 50-metre mark meets the boundary line at right half forward.
These are the decisions you make. Do you go for the long goal and potentially kick a long point, or do you put it to the top of the goal square?
That little hole that's opened up.
It's popped into the right forward pocket. It was measured perfectly to Finlayson, and he marks.
Clever construction. Finlayson with the left foot now to his advantage. Well played. Essendon defenders, Josh, are all just so worried about their own opponent. They're not looking around.
Yeah.
Emerson will wheel around. He'll look to curl it around with the left. He couldn't get it to turn as much as he wanted. It goes across the face. Minor score. 10-4-64 Port. 4-4-28 the Bombers. It's a 36-point lead to Port. 2 minutes into the third.
And scouting Port Adelaide, that little kick outside 50, they hit the three-quarter kick to give their chance for their forwards to run onto it. They've got to take front shoulder there.
Oh, Horn Francis with a big set. Couldn't come down with the footy. Spills Essendon's way. Hobbs, defensive side of the wing, kicks to Gresham, drops a mark out in front of his eyes. Follows up. Hobbs does a full 360, kicks along the boundary line. It'll favour Aaliyah, who takes the intercept mark. And Aaliyah immediately looks inboard. He's got the three-quarter sleeves on again tonight. Aaliyah.
He'll back himself, this bloke, through the middle.
To Kane Farrell.
He's desperate to go there, isn't he?
There it is.
That laser left boot. Farrell, in the end, he gives it a bit of air. Kicks to the front edge of the centre square. Cox had hands to it, spills it. Following up Finlayson. Dispossess. Cox tracking it in front of him. McEntee fighting on. You throw a blanket over around 10 of them here. The umpire says play on, play on. Bergman trying to knock it out. Eventually the Bombers able to scoop it up. The umpire still says play on as Caldwell's crunched in a tackle. Ball comes out. Bergman's hand pass picked off. Merritt jams it on the boot down to half forward for the Bombers. Zerk Thatcher, the double fister, knocks it into space on the wing. Jones giving chase. That's Harry for Essendon. Picks it up. Second attempt. Hand pass back inboard.
Not quite what he wanted. Allows Port to get it through Rosie. He has another disposal. Hand pass over the shoulder. Found Houston. Horn Francis broke the second and then measures the kick. Going backwards to Zerk Thatcher. Wow, he's having a night out as well. Horn Francis and Rosie, what performances they're putting on for the Power fans. Port go across half back. Farrell out towards Georgiades. Marks just shy of the logo on the outer wing. Short to Marshall. Doesn't even take a step as he pops it forward again. Here's Burgoyne. Just a little bit shy of left half forward. Not a great kick to Marshall. Went past him. Gresham's able to steal it away. Hands it to Martin for the Bombers. Now to Parrish. Pops on over the top by hand. It's on to Caldwell. It's an open forward 50. The kick goes that way. Hobbs against Zerk Thatcher. Hobbs tries to drag it in. And then picking it up and able to work it away is Houston. And then a marvellous bit of play finds Burgoyne. They were cool when they needed to be, Port. And they've got the ball in the left back pocket. Their lead remains 36 points. 4 gone in the third.
Burgoyne and his dad's number 7, son of Peter, Port Adelaide premiership player, and that number vacated by Xavier Dersmer over the off-season. Hits up Butters on the back flank. And the little chant goes long down the wing. Off hands, it spills down to Marshall. Throws a boot at it. Kicks into the centre square. Unkind bounce for Dixon. It'll sit for Mackay of Essendon. Hand pass to Merritt. Comes wide to Harry Jones, who hugs it to his chest. Just goes with the short pass. Gee, tough one for Redmond. Leaps up. No mark. Bergman follows up. After spoiling that, but Redmond off his knees. Hands it out to Merritt. Essendon keep chugging forward. Kick from Zach Merritt. Not a good one. Aaliyah favoured by it. Takes the intercept mark. He's got it at half-back. For Port Adelaide, it is a 36-point lead for the Power. 5 gone in the third term. We have had not a score. No, we've had one score. Just a behind for Port Adelaide so far through the first 5 minutes of the second half.
Ali sends it into the centre square. Should emerge with it here, and they do. Rosie again. This will be disposal 22. Kicks towards right half forward. The kick had to be precise. Drew diving forward, couldn't quite mark. Redmond kept his feet. Gathers for the Bombers. Sends it back towards left half forward. Jones tried to mark, stolen away. Rosie, disposal 23 to Farrell. By hand to Houston. Moves it forward to Mead by hand. Mead will get a kick away. One-on-one battle here at full forward. Then breaking away, Georgiades went the mark and dropped it. Then follows up with a tackle, so the Bombers can't rebound. It's locked inside Port's forward 50. Underneath all of that was Laverty.
Georgiades just disappointed with himself there, but that's just a touch thing. That's just getting back to playing at this level, consistently tired, taking that mark. He will.
Port by 6 goals from the stoppage. Parrish jams it on the boot but turns it over. And Houston with the intercept mark.
This is probably the distance. They got the big sort of hole in front of the goal square. Just that three-quarter kick and allow the forwards to run onto it. They need to fill that dangerous space in, the Bombers.
Here's Houston. This is going to kick it to the hot spot. Dixon goes flying forward in front. Falls through to Mackay. Hand pass straight to Burne-Jones. Gives it to Soldo. Turns. Snaps. Soldo threads it. And Port pull further out in front. They kicked the opening goal of this second half. Port Adelaide 11-4-70. Essendon 4-4-28. And that was a gift for Darcy Byrne-Jones, just receiving that hand pass clean from Betty Mackay. Through it goes, Port Adelaide by 7 goals. 7 minutes into the third term, ABC Sport, Aaron Bryans on the boundary.
Miles Bergman for Port Adelaide just down some painkillers because Mason Redmond stood on his right wrist and he's in absolute agony, struggling to even open his hand. The doctors converging, trying to get him through this at the moment as they tape him up.
And poor old Mackay on that occasion. I know it's easy sitting up here in the commentary box. You're not in the heat of the kitchen down on the ground, but just had to show a little bit more composure with ball in hand there. Just too easy, coughed the ball up. And again, looking at the replay, Soldo, just the beautiful little sidestep and dummy as well, and good snap finish.
Not all ruckmen have that in them.
Yeah, don't. Geez, they cough a bad rap the ruckman, don't they?
Oh, I think they deserve most of it.
Soldo wins the tap in the meantime.
Look at this.
Rosie has it once more. This is supposing 25. You can add a bounce to that as well. Chips it short.
We did get to play with a couple of good ones, though, didn't we, Josh?
Very true.
Need for Port. Kicks towards the logo. Commentary wing. Butters marks. Spins and plays on. Not a great kick across half forward, though. He's done well, Lockie Jones, to win that battle. He was at the back of the line of 2. Kicking to Marshall. Hit the deck hard over Mead. Bombers can rebound. McGrath involved to Martin. Martin kicks back down the commentary wing. Can't get twice to Harry Jones and tumbles over the interchange gates for a throw-in.
Off the SMS, Julie in Brisbane. Travelling to gather round is too expensive for Brisbane fans. Also, the game started at 4:10 p.m. in Brisbane today. We missed most of the game because we're at work or travelling home. From Julie. Boundary throw in here. Port Adelaide by 42 points.
Read the next text.
I will. Soldo wins it down, and the hand pass from Perkins ended up with Rosie. His kick smothered, it's out of bounds. Clint Corbin. Listen to your breakdown of the team strips, your sports commentators. I've seen your dress sense on TV. The last thing that you two should be doing is making comments on fashion.
I know fashion. I do. It's a David Bowie song.
Port by 7 goals, 8 minutes into the third term. ABC Sport from the boundary throw-in. Horn Francis receives a hand pass from Mead, puts one out in front of Rosie. He's net front on by his opposite number, McGrath. Rosie bounces up, the ball heads out of play. And McGrath running head-to-head with Rosie. They go back and bump one another. That is an old-fashioned shirt front. Hit him straight up and down the middle. Unfortunately for both Connor Rosie and Andy McGrath, he seems to be okay.
Well, it goes to show you're still allowed to bump. You just got to be certain you're not going to get him in the head, which he didn't there. Oh, big contact.
Right in the chest. Solid bump. Tuck the elbow in. Here's McGrath again. Hand pass to Merritt. Getting it through. Will come again. From Dersma. McGrath upended. We'll try and work the ball away. Umpire spotted a free kick for a throw here.
Well, no, I think it was Andy McGrath was dealt with after he handled the ball.
So he's actually telling him to get up off the ground.
Yeah.
It looked like a throw call, it must be said. Perkins goes back inside the centre square. This is Caldwell. Kicks right up the corridor. Alier spoils away for Port, the back of 3. Gresham tried to soccer it to his own advantage. He'll get it back from Langton under real pressure from Burgoyne. Ball's still there to be won. Drew goes in to lend a hand. Port through Georgiades. Picks up the footy, then he's taken to ground as well.
But look at the numbers they're getting there. Perkins, Caldwell and Goldstein stuck back way off the contest. Too slow to get there. They're saved by the fact it's a ball up. If it had stayed in motion, Port would have swept it away.
Redmond had a bit to say to Burton after that contest. They ran back pointing at each other in opposite directions as Gresham hacks it off the ground and sends it out of bounds on the full. Free kick to Port Adelaide, deep in the left back pocket. They still lead Port by 42 points. 11 gone in the third.
Essendon led this game twice in the opening quarter. And then from that point on, it's been all Port Adelaide. They kicked 8 goals to 1 from that stage in the game. As the kick comes out from Zerk Thatcher, but there's a free kick in the marking contest here, and it's going to Redmond. In a tangle with Georgiades, and Redmond's walking back like he's going to have a ping here from about 70 out.
And the umpire's going to let him. Now, Redmond can seriously kick a footy, but even this is beyond him, isn't it? He's going to go the barrel, maybe?
Take the Malcolm Blythe effort as he darts out towards the right. He's kicking a drop punt. He got a fair piece of it, but it lands 5 metres short, and Radaglia punches it out of play in the forward pocket for the Bombers. Boundary throw-in. 11-4-70, Port Adelaide, Essendon 4-4-28. Gather round on ABC Sport. Great to have you with us. The SMS number 0437 774 774. Port wide. They're up by 42.
Soldo Armed it down, two-handed. Gresham tried to get to it. Lockie Jones did for Port. Slapped forward by Horn Francis into the path of Rosie. Arches it back, couldn't get away from Dersma. Still got a hand pass out. Meads sweeps it forward to Rioli. Another sweeping hand pass forward to Finlayson. Rioli got dealt with afterwards. It's going to be a free kick back here. Horn Francis wanted to move on. Umpire says no advantage.
Shane, it's got to go to Finlayson. That's where the downfield ball should have gone, unfortunately for Port, because they were out with a nice kick inboard.
And Rioli not happy with the treatment he got.
Good reason. Finlayson moved it inboard to Rosie. Back to Finlayson. Kicks inside forward 50. Marshall attacked the footy. Couldn't mark it. Spilled down to Mackay. Sweeps the Bombers to Dersma at left half back.
Dersma against his old team now in jumper number 28 for Essendon. Touches it on the ground. Hands it to Corbell. Kicks down the line to Perkins in a one-on-one with Zirk Thatcher, and the ball slips out of play on the bounce. Throw in between wing and half forward for Essendon.
I know I'm probably sounding like a stuck record here, but Essendon have just got it completely wrong. Maybe they've moved Setterfield actually now finally onto Rosie, but Rosie for the last 3 or 4 minutes has been running around by himself and he's completely dominating this game.
Rucks miss it from the boundary.
No, you'll get it again.
Throw in Parrish, hand pass, went straight to Burton, handball away to Rosie. Off he runs, darting away, shakes a would-be tackle from Hobbs. Kicks Port Adelaide down the wing to Bergman, who takes the mark. And Connor Rosie, it's been a highlight reel kind of night for him. He's had some wonderful moments, including a goal early in the piece and a cracker in that second term. Long kick inside 50 from the Bombers. From the power, rather, came from Bergman, picked off by the Bombers. They get it at half back, and Parrish is going to clean it up, gives it to Setterfield, kicks to a one-on-one. Corbell beats Mead.
The hand passes inboard to the run of Perkins. One-on-one battle inside forward, 50 for the Bombers. Perkins' kick had too much on it. Langford was furious. Redwell at the back then by Zirk Thatcher, who steers it up the middle to Lockie Jones for Port. Into the middle of the ground it comes to Drew. Couple of metres forward of the defensive edge of the centre square for Port. They lead by 42 points. Friday night footy on ABC Sport. Drew now to Finlayson. Just on the commentary edge of the centre circle. He's right on halfway now. Takes a couple of steps back and stabs it short to Farrell, who's got a tremendous kick on him. Here he goes with the left from inside the centre square. The land just to the right of the goal square. Punched away by Mackay. Straight down the throat of Butters, who tries to snap and misses. From right full forward. Had time. Couldn't convert. Kicks to the right are behind. 11-5, 71 to 4-4, 28. What have we travelled now? 14 minutes into the third.
She said Glenn had plenty of time. Zach Butters, fresh on the ground, snuck in on the interchange. The Bombers in the defensive 50 here as Nick Martin hits up Setterfield, who marks at centre half back. He's going long. Rioli back to cover off, back with the flight, standing underneath it. Kelly's getting a free kick. In front on contact. Kelly.
Bombers just can't get any flow in their game at all, can they?
Josh Franco on ABC Sport, cutting back inboard. Kelly to Heppel, short kick to Cox. Port by 43, a game high, 14.5 gone third term. Kicks long to the wing and broken up by Bergman. Takes the intercept mark. Here you go, Port Adelaide back through the middle. Horn Francis marks, short kick to Marshall. The build up again as Horn Francis goes running past, kicks out wide. Bergman will take it. 55 metres out right half forward.
This will be that three-quarter kick you've been talking about, Josh.
Dixon's got space to work into as well.
It's been all Port Adelaide. He kicks in the Dixon direction. Got his hands to it. Couldn't take the mark. Kelly tries to kick it away. Port win it back. And Farrell hand pass to Aaliyah, high half forward.
Aaliyah towards left half forward. Marking it out now is Finlayson. A couple of goals to his name tonight.
And even in this scenario, Finlayson popped 70 metres out by the time he kicks the footy. As a defender, stand in front. Oh, that's the high loopy one.
It is. Into the left forward pocket. Marking that. It's off hands. Tap forward to Rioli. Spins around and bounces it through. He's kicked 2 amazing goals this evening, Willie Rioli. He's got 3 in total. 2 of them have been, well, breathtaking. Port's lead is out to 49 points. 12-5-77. Essendon 4-4-28. 16 gone in the third. Friday night footy on ABC Sport.
I'll tell you what. Rioli is a player that I must admit I hadn't seen a lot of when he was over in Perth, but he is a seriously good footballer. And if you look at Port Adelaide's mix ahead of the ball in terms of their smalls, they've got McAtee, they've got Burn Jones, they've got Powell Pepper when he plays there. I guess your pressure forward, your bash and crash. Rioli is the cream on the cake. And as we saw on that occasion, just his ability and his goal sense, just to hack it forward, put it through the big sticks, unbelievable.
Just a half a chance, wasn't it? Made something out of nothing. And two different styles of entries. You've been talking about that three-quarter kick. Nearly worked to Dixon. On that occasion, long and high, front and square.
Yeah.
It's out to 49 points, Port Adelaide's way. A goal in each quarter for Willie Rioli. Back in the middle, Soldo's hand pass went to Merritt, to Nick Martin. The Bombers back on it. Gives it to Setterfield, back to Merritt. Kicks out wide, and there's Hind, the sub, who takes the mark. No, he doesn't. Drops it, regathers. Tumbles a kick to half forward. Sunday hop for Gresham. Steps his way around Horn. Francis looks goalward. Kicks a drop punt through for a major. Boy, do they need that, Essendon. It's been a long time coming. They're first since the 7-minute mark of the second term. We are now 17 minutes into the third quarter. Gresham has 3 of Essendon's 5 goals. It's been a tough old night for the Bombers. They're on the struggle bus. 5-4-34. Port Adelaide 12-5, 77. Port by 43. Aaron Bryans on the boundary.
Corbin, you just called him. Nick Hind has been activated. Just a tactical sub for the Bombers, so Jai Menzies is out of the game. There was some confusion about how they were actually going to go about it. Nick Hind had taken the jumper off. They didn't know who was going to come off. Brad Scott got on the phone. He put it back on. Eventually, they've decided to pull the trigger. Meanwhile, on the Port Adelaide side, we know Travis Boker's out with a back injury. He's now back onto the bench, sitting at the back of it. Looks to be in good spirits, but I've seen the vision. He copped a knee right at the bottom of his spine from Jake Kelly in a tackle.
It's not what you need when you're in your 352nd game. His back doesn't work as well as it did when you're a young man.
Goldstein, one down for the Bombers. Horn Francis, first out after it, gathers, gives it to Butters, takes a bounce, surging down the outer wing, a second bounce, and then he'll send it towards full forward. Long penetrating kick, gathering at Finlayson, throws it on the boot, they respond immediately. He's now got his third, and he stands up to stare at the Port fans in the Riverbank stands. Those flags in black, teal and white, they're waved vigorously as Port put that lead back to 49 points, 13-5-83. The Bombers are 5-4-34. Friday night footy on ABC Sport.
You could almost put this on repeat. We've spoken about it all night. Port Adelaide's ability to get centre bounce clearances right out the middle, right out the front, straight through dangerous parts, leads to a dangerous entry, it leads to a really good goal from Finlayson. It's probably highlighting Essendon's midfield isn't quite at that level of the truly top teams like Port Adelaide.
Absolutely, Lingy. Speed kills. Just some stats. So the clearance count, centre bounce, 13-5 Port Adelaide's way for 4 goals, 1.
Yeah, wow.
From CB. It's been a domination in there.
Josh Franco alongside Cameron Ling on ABC Sport. Corbin Middlemass and Clint Wilden calling the footy. Aaron Bryans on the boundary. Horn Francis knocks it out to Butters. Gives it back to Horn Francis. Kicks into the pocket. Georgiades trying to turn Laverty inside out. He's shoved out of bounds. And a throw in forward pocket for Port.
Our part is as well, if you're Essendon, because they're on fire in there, it's so hard to stop. You can go defensive triangle, you can go man on man, but they've just got so much speed and so much power, it's just so difficult to counteract.
Boundary throw in forward 50 for the pair, knocked down by Dixon, but spills away the Bombers. Heppel jams it on the boot up to the wing. Hobbs trying to wrestle Houston for it, falls away Zirk Thatcher. Langford's got him, tackles his old teammate to the ground, and a ball up on the wing. Earlier tonight, Brisbane by 70 points over North Melbourne. It's similarly one-sided here at Adelaide Oval. Port by 49, time on third term over the Bombers.
Goldstein palmed it down, straight to Caldwell, tackled into the deck. Well, board up. I still think the criticism of your fashion sense is very unfounded.
Thank you.
I've seen you on Offsiders.
I've come a long way.
Oh, no doubt about that, but very stylish. Came down towards Merritt, getting a kick forward. Chance to work it on was Dersma. Into a pack it goes. More players pile on top of this on the commentary wing. Me, on the other hand, fair. I'll cop that.
You've come very little over a longer period of time.
I haven't travelled anywhere. The same haircut that I had when I was about 16. Here's Horn Francis. Hand pass to McGrath, taken to ground, ball up the court. Fortunately, never had the mullet, so it's just been boring ever since.
Yeah. Maybe it's not too late.
No, it's now just going grey, Cool. Just go grey. Go grey gracefully. This is Drew. Hand pass back to Butters. Oh, that's a nice hand pass to release Rosie. Oh, a lovely hand pass again on to Houston. That was beautiful from Port. Kicked into the right forward pocket. Mackay couldn't mark. Stolen away by Dixon. He looked to centre the football. Didn't quite get where he wanted to go. Hyde punched it away. The Bombers had it through Merritt. His hand pass will be intercepted. Bergman. Well done, Kelly. Tapped it to his own advantage. Bergman had the sit. Kelly won it down, gave it to Caldwell, kicks towards right half forward. Radagalia's back there for Port, and he takes the mark.
That's a great example of what's happened tonight. Zach Merritt with a panicked handball that went nowhere. They kind of got away with it. Then Caldwell got the ball, panic kick to nobody in particular. Port of the pressure and their midfield dominance has just forced Essendon to make really bad decisions.
Radagalia to Mead, to Butters. Short kick finds Farrell. So here's their user off the half-back flank. Some people, if they were borrowing a terminology from another sport, Lingy may even say he's their quarterback.
That's right.
But we don't do that in our game because that upsets a lot of people on the SMS. So Kane Farrell is that man, and here he just decides to go back and short and hut as he passes the ball away to Radagalia, and he chips it short to Burton.
Does it upset them because we think that he's about to throw the ball?
I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
But you know what we're getting at.
Yeah.
Burton kicks out wide, and Zerk Thatcher, strong mark in front of Langford. Marks in front of the benches. Port by 49 points, 22 gone third term.
And it's when you got a kicker like that, it is a clear instruction to get them the ball as often as possible so they can use their kicking weapon.
Short to Burgoyne, a famous name in club history. Kicks inside the forward 50, standing at the back, Georgiades. The pack flew in front of him. He stayed down and in the end almost marked uncontested at the back of 6 or 7. And he'll shoot from right half forward. He'll kick from about 30 out.
And I guess one other player too, obviously the spotlight has been on Connor Rosie for the entire game, and we mentioned this bloke at half-time, but Jason Horne-Francis, again, getting under the guard, but he's having a real impact on this game. 11 disposals in this third quarter. We've still got 4 minutes of play left.
Gee, it's good to have this guy back. Mitch Georgiades, 22 years of age, back from an ACL tear. It's been Port's night. He moves in, he strikes it out to the left, he leaves it there. He's playing his 50th game tonight, and Port now lead by bang on 50. A new game high, 23.5 gone third term. Port by 50 points over Essendon. Corbin Middlemass and Clint Weldon, Cameron Ling, Josh Franco and Aaron Bryans, your call team for the second leg of this Friday night doubleheader on ABC Sport.
Here's Nick Martin. Fires the ball in the right back pocket.
Disposal number 30 for Nick Martin after, equalling the club record last week for disposals.
There's Caldwell. That's a dangerous kick. Back to Mackay up against Dixon. Take the advantage here. Dixon taking the ground. They turned it over again here, Essendon. Zerk Thatcher stealing possession. The Finlayson kicks back inside forward 50. Wanted Rioli. The spoil came from Heppel. Only as far as Burgoyne. Burgoyne looked to throw it on the outside of the right boot. He could have steadied and run in and kicked straights, but he just puts a minor on the scoreboard. Another behind, 13-7-85 now, Port. They're out to a 51-point lead over the Bombers, who are 5-4-34, 24 gone in the third.
Burgoyne, his old man, a two-time premiership player, once in the Sandful for Port Adelaide, once in the AFL back in 04, of course. Port's only premiership at the top level. Cox to Heppel. Cox out of the defensive arc, hits up Kelly. A couple of second-generation footballers themselves, Cox and Kelly. Jake Kelly, the son of the current Collingwood chief in Craig Kelly. As Jake kicks the ball here beyond the wing, clears the pack. Soldo goes back to collect. He's opposing ruckman. Draper can't pick it up. It's a long way down for the big man as Gresham paddles it out to Merritt. Great delivery onto the chest of Lockie Jones, who takes the mark out wide at right half forward.
Fellas, just looking at some of the numbers as well, and we spoke about this bloke at the start of the third quarter. Jake Stringer needs to somehow influence or impose himself on this contest. Is he someone, Lingy, that they could potentially put in the middle of the ground? He's got some speed and power to counteract Port Adelaide's dominance.
At least centre bounces.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to stay there. Doesn't have to spend 7-8 minutes playing as a midfielder. Just the centre bounces where Port have been dominant, and he's usually pretty effective.
Yep. This is Harry Jones, of course, for Essendon. Right-footed drop punt from out wide. What a marksman. Superb finish. Finds a home for it. And Essendon need quite a few more of those. 6-4-40. Essendon, Port Adelaide, 13-7-85. 26 gone in the third term. Lockie Jones, of course, is out there playing for Port Adelaide. And I think you would say, Lingy, I'm having a few problems keeping up with the Joneses.
Very good, Corbs. Well done. You're on fire tonight. Wonderful set shot for goal. I was about to comment before he kicked it so well that that's about the only spot where Essendon are actually able to take a mark inside forward 50. Is so wide in a part of the ground that you're usually pretty safe. They're not going to kick a goal from there, but it was a wonderful finish. Port have been so dominant through the middle part of the ground, probably after quarter time, that they've forced any of those entries either to be long and high and slow or really wide like that. But Harry Jones, one of those rising stars for the Bombers, finishes nicely.
From the restart, Draper won it down. Setterfield got a hand pass away to Merritt, gathered at the back edge of the centre circles. Inside the attacking 50 for Essendon. Beautifully gathered by Ali, but ran straight into Hine, who tackles him and holds it to him.
Oh, wow.
Says holding the ball. It's probably a bit tough. He did gather and take it on, I suppose, but tackle stuck.
I think there wasn't a lot of prior opportunity, but happy to be corrected by the replay.
And I was just about to say as well, in terms of the difference from centre bounce clearances, for Essendon there, Port Adelaide able to force them back, shallow entry, as opposed to Port Adelaide being able to break and rip through the front of the CB.
Nick Hine, the sub, is on for Menzies, looking for his first goal of the season. 45-degree angle to the right. He kicks from 47 out. He misses right and behind for the Bombers. 6-5, 41 Essendon. Port 13-7-85. Port's lead 44 points. Lead 28 gone in the third.
Dan Houston in game 150, the winner the last time these two teams met. Not sure that'll be required after the bell tonight. It's Port by 44, closing in on three-quarter time. He also becomes the 27th player in AFL history to play 150 for Port Adelaide.
I always hold my breath when he's got the ball, Farrell.
Zirk Thatcher to Barrel, so at half back, he looks back into the corridor again. Heppel leaves his man, whacks it away, down to Rosie, set upon straight away. Locked up in a two-man tackle and a ball up on the wing.
But amazing, there's 30 seconds to go in the quarter and he's still looking for the corridor.
Yeah. And long down the line is normally traditionally boundary. Yeah. Very aggressive.
Almost had a secondary stoppage. Caldwell somehow got it out. Parrish hand pass picked off. Burgoyne links up with Rioli. Hand pass goes back to Butters. He sells a dummy and then just blows straight by Kelly. Kicks Port to half forward. Good mark. Finlayson hangs on to it right half forward. But Zach Butters, doing as he does, just tucks the footy under the arm, burns off the defender coming at him and sets up another scoring opportunity.
Barrel, come on.
Jeremy Finlayson after the bell, the man on the mark about 2 metres out of the 50. So the kick will have to come from near on 60 out. Finlayson loads up, kicks a drop punt. He kicks a cannon right to the goal line. It won't get there. Thumped away. And Port will have to settle for a 44-point advantage at three-quarter time. Port Adelaide 13-7-85. Essendon 6-5-41. Port by 44. As we turn for home, they are in command, the home team. The goal kickers, 3 each for Connor Rosie, Jeremy Finlayson and Willie Rioli. And then singles for Marshall, Soldo, Burne-Jones and Georgiades. In fact, Georgiades has 2. So I forgot to put the last one in the book. 2 for Georgiades. Essendon, 3 for Gresham, singles for Perkins, Harry Jones and Jake Stringer. Your thoughts off the SMS? Jill in Brunswick, gather round is nice, but it makes the game harder to access if costs of transport and hotels are expensive. Not all matches are free to wear, so it becomes elitist. Jill?
I have to jump in here. Imagine if 10 of your 11 away games a year are a minimum $1,000 a ticket. You want to see your team play away from home? That's a minimum cost per person of $1,000.
Expensive.
Spoken as a Western.
Any teams you're referring to there, Clint?
No, but this is, again, with no disrespect, and I know Jill's, I'll bet she's in Victoria, and this is not to disrespect that issue and her, but it's the national game, it's Australia's game. I know this is expensive if you're coming from Victoria. Every game, if you want to see your team play away and you live in South Australia or Brisbane, and particularly WA, to see your team away from home is expensive.
I think the hotels, there are people who have travelled obviously from Northern Territory and WA and everything else. The The hotels, I know, this time around were pretty steep for people coming from interstate. Luigi from Baldwin off the Esmeth. Gather Round misses the point. By being in one city, by definition, exclusionary. The irony is not lost on me, so Luigi not happy with that. And cheers from Bluey, listening in the Wimmera Mallee. Home of great footballers the Bombers could do with a few pacey, hard-nosed types right now, enjoying the call. Thanks, Bluey. Nice to hear from you. 0437 774 774. The thoughts of Cameron Ling and Josh Franco coming up in just a moment. This is Friday Night Footy on ABC Sport.
Do you often feel overwhelmed by the daily news cycle? Too many headlines with too little context? Well, join me, Sam Hawley, for ABC News Daily.
You know, there's middlemen involved and you have to make sure that the farmers are getting a good deal.
A podcast that walks you through one story per episode to help you with a deeper understanding of the issues affecting your world, all delivered in a comprehensive yet easy to digest 15 minutes. So join me for ABC News Daily.
Hear it now on the ABC Listen app. You're listening to the AFL Gather Round. On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
And take us with you on the ABC Listen app.
Ball through to Mackay. Hand pass straight to Burne-Jones. Gives it to Soldo. Turns. Snaps. Soldo threads it. And Paul pulls further out in front.
Marking that. It's off hands. Pat forward to Rioli. Spins around and bounces it through. He's kicked two amazing goals this evening, Willie Rioli. He's got 3 in total. 2 of them have been breathtaking.
Tumbles a kick to half forward. Sunday hot for Gresham. Steps his way around Horn. Francis looks goalward. Kicks a drop punt through for a major. Boy, do they need that, Essendon.
Surging down the outer wing. A second bounce. And then he'll send it towards full forward. Long penetrating kick. Gathering at Finlayson. Throws it on the boot. They respond immediately. He's now got his third and he stands up to stare at the Port fans in the Riverbank stands.
The 2024 AFL Gather Round.
On your radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
Port Adelaide have won every quarter so far. They led by 3 at quarter time, 35 at the half and 44 at 3/4 time. The SMS 0437 774 774. Friday Night Footy on ABC Sport. The Geelong champion Cameron Ling and the former Port Adelaide champion midfielder Josh Franco.
So, looking at obviously 3/4 time, and we've been banging on a lot about the Port Adelaide dominance in their midfield. I just want to highlight some numbers here for you, Lingy. And to your point around their ability to get on that loose ball and the speed to get on that loose ball. So, in terms of the hit-outs, it's 9-7 centre bounce. So, there's been 21 centre bounces. So, they're +2 Port Adelaide. So, no dominance.
Yep.
By any stretch in terms of the hit-outs. But the first possession count is 16-4, and the clearance count is 14-6. So once again, if you go back to Rosie, who we've been talking about, Jason Horne-Francis, Zach Butters, those guys with the ability to get on that loose ball, they look just so dangerous and so damaging in there.
Yeah, and those stats clearly highlight that. You were talking through the third quarter there about something that Essendon could do. It's really hard when there is that domination because they're so proactive and they're moving around. I feel like at worst, you said the defensive triangle, which is effectively, for those listening, one on either side of the centre circle and one in what would be called almost a traditional sweeper role, creating that triangle. That almost feels like the best worst-case scenario is, well, at least they're not going to explode through the front on us with that type of setup. And they might get a little handball backwards and we get some pressure coming in off the line. And we might... They're still going to get the possession. They're still going to get a clearance. But they're going to be kicking from behind centre as opposed to kicking from 10 or 15 metres in front of centre and getting that deep entry.
The other thing they can do as well, and you're absolutely spot on in terms of what the 3 insiders can do, but also a lot of sides play a proactive half-back. So they almost say, you know what, stuff my opponent who's a forward, which sounds ludicrous, coming aggressively off the back of the square to get some frontal pressure on the Horne-Francises and the Rosies that are bursting out the front of the CV. But in terms, I guess, of the game, Essendon really have to roll the dice now. They need to be more adventurous with their ball movement. Port Adelaide, more of the same. One player needs to lift for the Bombers is Stringer. Get him involved in the game somehow because he is potentially a game changer.
Thoughts of Josh Franco alongside Cameron Ling, Corbin Middlemass and Clint Wilden calling the footy. Aaron Bryans on the boundary. Port by 44. As we start the final term, Soldo wins it down. Horne-Francis dragged down with the footy. Comes to Parrish, hand pass to Merritt. He's lost it in the tackle. Soldo hands it out to Rosie. Centre break for Port Adelaide again. Chips the pass out in front of Drew, who marks, plays on, turns, looks inside the forward 50, hitting up Marshall, carries his head. Burne-Jones forward pocket, dragged down by Redmond, up by Says. Spin it in. Boundary throwing in front of the old scoreboard.
Did it well then, Redmond. Almost looked like it was going to be one of those holding the man on Burne-Jones, I think it was, and just released just in time.
One of the two South Australians in Essendon's 23, so Mason Redmond from Millicent and big Sammy Draper, drafted out of South Adelaide from the boundary throw-in, spills the way of Marshall. He's tackled, dispossessed. Parrish's kick smothered too. Drew hands out the hand pass to Rosie, bursts through traffic, fends off one, caught surely by Dersma holding the ball. A free kick for Xavier Dersma off the back flank, running down his former teammate Connor Rosie. Port by 77, 60 seconds into the final term.
It's out towards Stringer. Stringer will move the ball for Essendon along the boundary line.
This one, I reckon they need to try to come back in the corridor.
They won't. I'll go towards left half forward from Caldwell. There's a big pack up at the back. It spills down to Houston. Fires the hand pass to Aliir. Then he'll go short to Burton. He marks right up against the boundary line, right half back. Stringer stands on the mark. Burton's told to move it on. The white boots, he'll put it back towards centre wing, commentary side. 2-on-2 battle off the hands of Redmond at the back. Burne-Jones gathered, bounces a kick towards Rioli. Anything could happen here. Willie gathers, runs inside forward 50, centres the kick, a clever chip. Beautifully read to McIntyre. I wouldn't have backed against him, been able to kick the goal if he'd wanted to, but it was the team thing to do, Josh.
Absolutely it was. And again, that's just the class of Willie Rioli. He's just has composure under pressure and even under maximum heat. Not that he was on that occasion, but time and time again he just makes good decisions with the ball. And he's a player that actually tells forwards where to go, and he kicks it into space and makes them move onto it rather than reacting to what the forward does.
Here he goes, Jed McIntyre, looking for his second of the season. Got right underneath it. It almost brings rain, but it's able to get the distance as well as the height, and it's through for a major. Port Adelaide's lead is back out to 50 points. 14-7-91 to Essendon's 6-5-41. 2 and a bit minutes gone into the final term. Friday night footy on ABC Sport.
You know in basketball, Lingy, where they talk about the rainbow three? That's like the rainbow goal. Just right up and under.
Certainly was. Again, we saw Port Adelaide's attacking, aggressive run lead to that. So the play leading up to it, they got forward, spread hard, and then it was Rioli who got out the back. And as you described so well, Josh, Rioli always, his eyes were darting. Do I have a shot? And he was steadied and settled and could have, but then saw McIntyre inside and forced him to move by hooking the ball back in there with great team play.
3 lead changes in the opening quarter. It has been all Port Adelaide thereafter. The Bombers actually led on a couple of occasions in that opening turn. 50 points now, Port's lead. Drew clever, pumps it to the path of Horne-Francis, kicks it to the top of the goal square. Dixon and Mackay in a tangle. Cox getting back, collects in the goal square. Hand pass away to Redmond. He comes wide with a kick, wants Heppel. Heppel marking just. It's a good grab too, reaching out a play at right half back. The former skipper wants to move it on in a hurry, misses Parrish, made it tough for him. Parrish slips over, Farrell grabs it, Langford's got him, Farrell's out of bounds. Aaron Bryans is down there too. Aaron.
Corbin, just a small update on Travis Boak. At three-quarter time, he looked incredibly immobile. I hate to say it, the 35-year-old, but it almost looked like he needed a walker. I'm not sure he'll be out there next week the way he's looking.
Yeah, subbed out of the game. Thanks, Aaron. And John Menzies, a tactical sub out of the game for Essendon. We need to keep an eye on Archie Perkins, who's off the ground at the moment for the Bombers as well. So no injury concerns until now to speak of for Essendon. And we'll get an update on Archie's condition. A 50-point lead for Port, 4.5 minutes into the final term. ABC Sport, Friday night footy as gather round continues from the stoppage. Heppel squeezes a kick forward. Langford marks, hands it back to Heppel.
And Heppel sweeps the hand pass forward, stepping left and right. Hine got away from his opponent, kicked inside the right forward pocket, stretching out the mark. Caldwell, for a moment he was going to try and play on, and thought the better of it. Just skip his way back beyond the 50-metre arc.
It was a good kick of the footy, Jai Caldwell. He's worked pretty hard tonight, but he's been part of a midfield that's been very badly beaten. A few players have severely lowered their colours in that Essendon midfield.
19 goals so far, a 59-game career. Jai Caldwell won't go for goal. He'll put it towards the teeth of goal. Big pack up. It's off hands. Burn-Jones spins magnificently away from Draper. And then kicks Port beyond defensive 50 at right half back. No mark taken. Parrish will mop this one up for the Bombers. He gathers just forward of the wing. Stepped around Butters. Got the kick out of bounds on the full. Back the photographers doing their best to try and mark that one. Tough to mark when you've got a camera in one hand and trying to get the footy in the other. Aaron Bryant's downstairs. Sorry, Ling.
You're right. Aaron?
Clint, the Bombers are a man down, so Archie Perkins is out with a right hamstring injury. He's got ice all over it. They've already activated their sub. It was tactical earlier with Jai Menzies out.
That's a big blow for the Bombers for the next few weeks too. Archie Perkins has been very good. That kick by Darcy Parish has just put an exclamation mark on a horror night from him. And he has been destroyed.
And the injury update for the Bombers. So a dirty night for the Dons. The turnover here as Mead hands it back to McGrath on the wing. Hand pass away to Cox. Long kick forward, but it suits Radicalea. Big Sav takes the intercept mark for Port Adelaide. Power by 50 points. And Parish, what's he playing? This is just his second game for the year after an interrupted pre-season, but he's gone at 33% his kicking efficiency so far tonight. Just the 20 touches. Only 3 score involvements. Burn-Jones off the back flank. Kicks down the wing for Port Adelaide. Spoiled from the back by Soldo. Suits Rosie, and he's been the best one out there. Hand pass away to Houston. Hurried kick forward. Dixon in a one-on-one with Mackay. Hits the deck, and that'll suit Mackay. He races back and collects in the back pocket for the Bombers. Hand pass away to Nick Cox, who's under pressure against the boundary line. Kicks down the wing. Turnover. And Dan Houston takes the intercept mark for Port Adelaide. They keep it in the front half. 7 minutes into the final term. Port by 50.
Disposal number 21 for Dan Houston. Josh Frankie lets us know. So he's gone past your number of 3,020, Josh.
I've been tracking that very closely.
I know. He moves into the top 15 of total possession getters for Port. I shouldn't laugh. It's a terrific start. I did something random. That's normally Corbin's job. In the meantime, Butters has gone short to Burn-Jones, who can go back and have a shot from 40 metres out on a 45-degree angle to the right.
Should kick this, Burn-Jones.
Here's the approach. Boots a ball from 40 outs. Goal umpire leans back. Edge blunted as far as Essendon is concerned. Port Adelaide absolutely romping away with this now. 15-7-97 as Burn-Jones gets his second. Essendon 6-5-41. We're up to another game-high margin. Port's lead 56 points, 8 gone in the last.
Lee, love to get your thoughts on this. So some of the narrative coming out of Essendon, you know, they're young and they're rebuilding and they're building. What would a loss like this do to their confidence and sort of where they sit in the pecking order? Because they would have come over here after the performance last week against St Kilda.
And feeling pretty good about themselves. No, I think it puts a major dent.
Yeah.
You know, they can use it as learning and understand how good that Port midfield is and everything like that. But when your key players, like Darcy Parish, who we just highlighted, has been destroyed by a 20-year-old in Jason Horne-Francis, well, it's also not acceptable to play like this on a Friday night.
Soldo wins the hit out back in the middle. Butters grabs it, tackled, whacks it out, but turns it over. Picked up by Setterfield, hand pass straight to Bergman. Kicks across the ground for Port Adelaide, and Nick Martin takes the intercept mark. He goes wide to Harry Jones. Marks on the wing for the Bombers. Oh, hand pass too hot for Redmond. Sips through his hands. That didn't look too tidy at all. Has to go back and try and mop it up now. Pack forms around him and a ball up on the wing. Remember they ended last year, the Bombers, with sort of twin hidings. They lost by 126 to the Giants and then 70 to Collingwood. There was a lot of pressure on them about how they ended the year and whether they'd actually taken the steps required. Solid start at 2-1 and now on the end of a heavy loss here in Adelaide. Hurried kick forward, finds Harry Jones. Looks inside the forward arc. Underneath it is Hind. Lockie Jones punches it from the back down to Houston. He's tackled. And a ball up centre half forward for the Bombers.
I guess on the other side of the coin as well, if you look at Port Adelaide, I just reckon their side looks really well balanced.
Yeah.
Down back, they've got run and dash. Midfield's dynamic, and up forward, they've got the tools that can clunk them.
Goldstein palms it down. Gresham had it stolen away. Butters got it, gave it to Burgoyne, kicks Port to the outer wing. Draper did well to get in front of Finlayson. Came down to Laverty, gave it to Kelly for the Bombers, and just caresses the kick back to Redmond. Pink boots on, he goes short inboard laterally to Merritt, who marks and stabs a pass forward.
Roll and go.
Taking some time to work it around. Slow learners perhaps, but Slow going as Setterfield marks, now puts it into the left forward pocket. Big fist at the back came from Lockie Jones. Down to Mead. Running by, a chance to thump it forward. Farrell. Great kick, and then a battle between Mackay, who goes to ground against Dixon. Dixon emerges with it. Georgiades receives the hand pass, sweeps a hand pass forward. Rosie off the deck, almost gathered by Burne-Jones. Then on in turn to McEntee, gets a hurried kick away that rubbers inside the forward 50. Georgiades can't gather. Mackay was strong, stood up to it, gave it to Cox, worked along the boundary line to Caldwell, and now with Martin, the Bombers are away.
Off and running, goes short to a dangerous one-on-one. Wanted Hobbs, it's broken up by Farrell. Hobbs goes back, collects. Hand pass to Redmond, handball to Nick Martin. Middle of Adelaide Oval, comes wide to Harry Jones. There's a trainer out there caught the runner in the middle of the play, allows it to keep rolling. Harry Jones to Hind, he turns big sap, Radicalier inside out. Hind has to steady on the run, and he sprays it wildly across the goal face, and in the end puts it out on the full. And that is Essendon's night in a nutshell as they butcher the footy, shooting on goal. A rare opportunity running downhill. And the score remains the same. Port by 50 points. We are 12 minutes into the final term.
I highlighted the kicking efficiency at half-time. They're 58% Essendon, really bad. Port Adelaide, 70%, which is outstanding. That's a huge difference. Sometimes skill is what it comes down to.
Mead, ugly kick up in the air, lands at centre-half back. Port have got numbers to bring it away. Dixon gave it to Lear, popped it up into the air. Chance to set up once more. Come down the commentary wing. Nice pass from Farrell. Bounce to Bergman, arches the back, and from centre-half forward, his kick was touched on the way through it. Spilt to Caldwell. Hand pass at the bootstraps of Kelly under real pressure. McEntee picked it up for Port. Stolen away by the Bombers once more. Setterfield to Merritt. Long down the corridor. Uncontested mark again through Dixon for Port Adelaide. They're pretty much doing as they will at the moment. Dixon to the outer side. Burgoyne, uncontested mark, shy of the logo. Measures the kick back inboard. Latchley taken again here by Zerk Thatcher. The former Bomber's going to end up on the right side of this battle against Dersmer as they swap clubs. He gives it to Lear. Lear comes out to Horn Francis, and he marks in front of the interchange gates. It's still an emphatic lead, 56 points. Port in front, 13 gone in the last.
And this young man, he's been excellent after quarter time. Up to 29 disposals, finds Dixon. Out on the lead, and Big Charlie hangs on to it. Left half forward, he'll kick from 50 out.
So this is embarrassing for Essendon. Port Adelaide were able to knock the ball around in 7, 8, 10 possessions across half-back, which meant they had everybody back in their defensive 50. So they're at least saying, well, get a few kicks there, we'll defend that one. Well, they couldn't do either. Charlie Dixon still marked the ball inside forward 50.
They've kicked 15 goals, Port Adelaide, and Charlie Dixon has not kicked one of them. Right-footed drop punt is out to the left. It's a behind. He still hasn't. 15-8 to 6-5. Port by 57. 13 and a half gone final term. A lopsided pair of games on Friday night after earlier Brisbane won by 70 over North.
Oh, Dixon having a purple patch.
Marks again after McGrath went beyond defensive 50, and he'll turn after he gets a kick to Lear and head towards the interchange gates. Lear stands on the logo, commentary wing, puts the power back towards full forward. Big pack underneath it. Off hands, out the back, Burne-Jones. Oh, stealing through. It came to Butters, back to Burne-Jones, who ran into the goal square. Gathers and kicks a goal. He's got his third. It's an absolute rout now. Port Adelaide have pushed their lead past the 10-goal mark. They're out to a 63-point advantage. 14 gone in the final term. 16-8, 104. The Bombers are 6-5-41. Friday night footy on ABC Sport.
And Lingo, I think you used the word embarrassing, and it has become embarrassing for Essendon.
Yep.
Again, we talk about coming over here after a terrific win against St Kilda last week, where they, hung in there, and were able to get over the line in a really tightly contested game. They would have come over here with confidence, and this would be really brutal to come over and dish this up.
Yeah.
Disillusioning. Not even sure if that's a word. Yep. For the Essendon supporters,
especially at quarter time. Up to that point, they'd shown a little bit in this game, but quarter time onwards, this has been abysmal.
Goldstein wins the hit out back in the middle. Here's Horn Francis, links up with Rosie. Both of them have been superb. I'll have the 5 Brownlow votes between them as Rosie kicks inside 50. Hitting up is Georgiades. He left it behind. The Bombers collects. Laverty misses Heppel. Hand pass slides out of bounds and a forward 50 stoppage here for Port. It is the Power by 63 halfway through the final turn.
We know that to win a premiership in the AFL, you have to have a very good midfield, and even better if you've got an elite, truly the best in the comp midfield. Well, Port possess that, so that's going to have them right there again.
Grabbing it out of the ruck. Soldo kicks outside of the right boot, misses everything out on the full. And the roll-up, 47,641, which is just narrowly south of what we got last night, which was a record attendance for the gather-round fixture between Adelaide and Melbourne. So what a start to gather round. Over 9,000 a sellout at the parade at Norwood today, but 48,000 last night, 47,641 tonight.
Bombers brought it beyond their defensive 50, but Farrell got in the way at left half forward, gave it to Lockie Jones of Port. Centering kick again, attacking the football. Laverty got a punch on it, spilled down to Setterfield, kicked around the body, didn't even take a step forward. It'll land in the path of Radigalia, who got one across the throat as he took the mark on the logo on centre wing. He's against Goldstein, stretching out and trying to spoil the football. Nothing malicious, but nonetheless, would have hurt. Radigalia puts it back inside the forward 50. Flying Georgiades, spilled down though to Dersma. Hand pass back into pressure, but Butters provided it. Comes to Burton, hand pass to Horn Francis. Takes the big fend off the string and then spears the pass inside to Georgiades, who marks right in front of goal. And he'll go back and shoot from 45 out.
And linking even further to the dominance of Port Adelaide, and sort of check myself, maybe I'm getting a bit carried away here, but they've got Ollie Wines, who is sitting on the sidelines, and you sort of inject him back into this midfield. At the moment with Horn Francis, Drew's been playing terrific footy, Butters, Rosie. You put a tractor in there, does that affect the dynamic of their midfield crew? Even though there probably is still a place for an Ollie Wines.
He's going to return to football after an ACL injury with at least one goal. No, make that two. He applauds his teammates, looks to the heavens, almost a moment of relief, but there'd be plenty of joy on the return to the AFL of Mitch Georgiades. In his milestone 50th game, he's had to wait 349 days to be back here. And he's going to return with a victory for Port. They lead by 69 points. 17-8-110. Essendon 6-5-41. 17 and a bit gone in the last. What about Powell Pepper? Where does he fit back into this mix as well?
Well, he goes into that forward line and plays as that wrecking ball forward. To answer your question too, Josh, there is still a place for Wines, but he's no longer the front line of their midfield. He's the next one who can come in, who can be this relentless bull for a little bit and then jump back out, almost exhaust the opposition midfield some more. Oh, and then a fresh Rosie comes back into that midfield and runs a mark. So there will be a role for him. He just doesn't have to lead it.
Back-to-back six-day breaks coming up for the Bombers, so travel here to Adelaide and then next Friday night against the Western Bulldogs as Port go racing away out of the middle. Butters, hand pass to Rosie, two bounces, can't finish. Out wide, sneaks it in for a behind.
How dare he miss one?
So 17-9 to 6-5. They're always waxing, aren't they, Butters and Rosie, and they link up again there, the captain and the vice-captain that'll lead this club for the next 10 years.
Port trying to win the ball over through Burgoyne and can't do so at left half forward. Redmond was able to mop it up and he gave it on to Hobbs. Spears the Bombers to right half forward, and the mark being juggled over the line by Stringer. No, it's okay. Mark completed before he crossed the line. He sold a little bit of candy, and that means he stepped, and that means that that's going to be a boundary throw in because he didn't play on directly. Sold the candy, stepped around it. It's going to have to be spun back in. So.
Well umpired by the boundary umpire. He called that.
Yeah, he did.
The field umpire was going to let it go.
No doubt.
Got to return the ball back over the mark. Sure, beyond the boundary line. Tried to sell the candy. You weren't allowed to sell it just then, James. Spun back in. Draper slaps it back in the middle of the ground. Drew goes up, couldn't gather. Merrick could. Burst through beautifully for the Bombers. Then popped it up for Harrison Jones. Couldn't mark. Aliir kept his feet. Jones didn't. Allows Aliir to gather for Port. Ugly grubbering kick down the outer wing. Gets the way of Mead though. Pops a hand pass out to Georgiades. He'll take a bounce at right half forward for Port.
He's got a couple on his return. Mitch Georgiades kicks to full forward, getting back Dersma. Got a hand in there, broke up the marking opportunity for Dixon. Spills the Bombers' way. Mackay to Hobbs by hand. He goes back by hand to Laverty. Kicks out of the defensive arc. Stringer caught at the back with Houston. Burgoyne comes to lend a hand. Wins it back at half forward. Stringer gives up on the chase. Kicks to full forward. Dixon the target. Mackay spoils him. Laverty knocks it away to Dersma. Hand pass to Mackay. Slick hands finds Heppel. Full back. Got a bit of late pressure. He gets the kick away anyway, and Nick Cox takes the mark at half back for Essendon. So Friday night against the Bulldogs for the Bombers. For Port Adelaide, they'll play Fremantle, who are sticking around in Adelaide. That's next Saturday night. Turnover from the Bombers. Bergman kicks inside the forward arc. Top of the goal square. Man down. It's Mackay. Felled illegally by Dixon, and a free kick for the Bombers. Last line of defence. Port Adelaide by 70 points. 21 gone. Final team.
Laverty moves it to Redmond. Defensive 50 to Dersma. Hand passes to Cox. Bombers have it at right half back. Kick is up in the air. Others with Port. Others flew. Parrish behind. Parrish tries to get it. Draper went on the ground looking to tap it in the direction of Parrish. It's still there to be won. Stringer tries to emerge with it. Strong. Under pressure. Got a hand pass out the side of Settersfield. Have it in turn to Merritt. Popped it forward to Hind, who would like to have his most recent shot at goal back. He's about 55 from goal. Kicks to the teeth of it. Spills down off hands and then tracked through the behind line by Burton. Just clever enough to pick it up. Just could brush it, but was able just to shepherd it through for a behind. Quarter 17-9, 111. Essendon 6-6-42. 69 points is Port's advantage. 22 gone in the last. Friday night footy around the nation on ABC Sport.
All the footy all weekend. Right here on ABC Sport with Burton on the kick-out duties. Goes long up the middle, hands to it from Mackay, the Bombers, no mark. And knocks it away to his teammate Heppel. He gives it to Merritt. His kick a turnover. Bergman back the other way. Pumps it beyond the wing. McEntee needs a kind bounce, doesn't get one, and he and Cox see it out of play.
Corbs, you've already brought this up earlier on in our broadcast, but it's a really important one to make. We've been singing the praises of that Port midfield. It's the age of them that's the most impressive. Rosie's 24. Butters is 23. Horn Francis is 20. Willem Drew is 25. You throw in a couple of other key running players. Dan Houston's 26 and Miles Bergman's 22. They're all in their prime and so young.
Draper wins it down. Drew sharks it, kicks it forward and kicks it out on the full. Free kick for the Bombers in the back pocket. They're set up to contend for a while, aren't they?
Yeah.
With that age profile. Ken Hinkley obviously on a new contract, having re-signed last year after coaching much of the year off contract. Mackay brings it back into play, kicks down the wing, hitting up Gresham, hand pass away to Merritt, flicks a handball out wide to Heppel, trying to work his way through traffic, caught, coughed it up. Umpire lets them roll. Parrish cleans it up for Essendon. To Kelly, back to Parrish, to Hobbs. They're retreating. Hobbs with nothing to go to. Just kicks in the Stringer direction. He's got two to beat. He went for a climb, put his hands in the back of the Port Adelaide defender and gives away a free.
Now, I know you could say I'm jumping the gun because they haven't won a premiership yet and they haven't been in multiple grand finals, but when you list that sort of midfield, you start thinking of the Judd, Cousins, Kerr type groups of midfielders, the trio, when you're saying Rosie, Butters, Horn Francis. That's what they could elevate themselves to.
Mead, short to Burton, has to dive forward to take the mark.
That's a big rap too, Lingy.
Yeah.
And I'm with you.
Yeah.
Totally with you.
They could jump that far. Yeah.
Burton look the switch play. Farrell tracking back, marks just inside the attacking point of the centre square at left half forward. Stabs the ball short. Burn-Jones leaning forward to mark on his chest. Power to push their lead back out past 70 points again. Currently 69 their advantage, 25 gone in the last. Percentage boost will be a good one for Port. Currently 138.3. I'll get a solid lift from this result. Switch and play again to Burton. There's not a single player behind him at the moment as he walks back from right half forward to just be probably 10 metres in front of the logo on the outer side of the ground. From Max Bashir stand, he kicks inside forward 50. Umpire spotted a free kick. It's going the way of the Bombers. Mackay will have it. Caresses the ball and hoping Dersma can run onto it. He couldn't mark it and tries to keep it in play up against Burgoyne, and Burgoyne infringes on a lot in that, but the free kick's been spotted Will be taken by Dersman. He'll send it back towards fullback for the Bombers, who trail by 69 points. 25 gone in the last.
Can't end soon enough for Essendon. They haven't kicked a goal at all in this final term. It would be their first goalless quarter of the young season as Nick Martin goes short to Heppel at half-back. A bad night for the Bombers, having won on this ground in Gather Round last year, upsetting Melbourne. They drew the rough hand of playing one of the local South Australian teams, and they've done nothing to try and make the most of that, like getting 15 in blackjack. But they couldn't make anything of it, the Bombers, after a hot start as Radaglia swings it from one side of the centre square to the other, and Burgoyne marks. Short kick to Burn-Jones, prods the pass down to half forward, and here's Georgiades. So the three forwards up front tonight. Marshall kicked just the one goal. Finlayson's got 3, Georgiades has 2, and Dixon hasn't kicked one. How have you seen it, Josh and Lingy? What have you made of the 4 up front? It's Georgiades. He's going to lay it up here to the top of the goal screen. Ben Mackay takes an intercept mark.
I reckon they've been pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yep. Dixon's looked threatening. Finlayson the same. And Georgiades, his first game back, I think he's contributed well tonight.
And the sign of a good forward line is it doesn't have to be the one person kicking the goals all the time. Dixon hasn't got one, as you mentioned. That's fine. He does the work for others. And then you've got midfielders chipping in for goals through Port as well.
So a free kick and then 50 metres here. Zach Merritt, after Dixon gave it away, brings it up into the middle of the ground. He'll kick the Bombers. Inside their forward 50. Goldstein might have given Radaglia a little shove. Umpire lets them play. Ball's still there to be won. Langford got a hand pass back to Heppel. Kicks the Bombers into the left forward pocket, but Alira's waiting. And takes the defensive mark, and they will flare it into the right back pocket for Horn Francis, or Bergman rather, to start again. Essendon kicked 3 goals in the first quarter. Since that time, they've kicked 3 goals for the rest of the match. So 6-6-42 they are. 17-9, 111 is Port Adelaide. And Port makes it 8 straight wins over Essendon, who are nothing short of embarrassed on Friday night footy in Gather Round. The Power thumped the Bombers by 69 points. 17-9, 111 to Essendon, 6-6-42. Port with their 3rd win of the season. The Bombers will have to go back looking for that edge. It was a tight first quarter. Port led by just 3 points at the first break and then took control. 35 at half-time, 44 at three-quarter time to run out winners by 69 points in front of 47,641. Burn-Jones with 3, Rioli with 3, Finlayson with 3, Rosie with 3, and singles to Marshall, Soldo, McEntee and 2 to Georgiades, while for the Bombers, Gresham with 3, Perkins, Jones and Stringer individual goal kickers. A huge win for Port.
And 4,398 fans already have attended the 3 games so far. It is a Port party tonight at Adelaide Oval, a 69-point win for the pair. They ensure at least one of the local teams will win on their weekend, with the whole competition in town. Port Adelaide winning every quarter. The Bombers goalless in the last. Port by 3 at quarter time, 35 at the half, 44 at three-quarter time and 69 in the finish. It's a catchy song. Port Adelaide 3-1, Essendon 2-2. The immediate reactions of Cameron Ling and Josh Franco on ABC Sport.
Does it get any better for Port? The whole gather round is here in Adelaide. Adelaide, Crows are 0-4, and then they've just gone and flogged the Bombers by 69 points. A lot of Port fans will be very, very happy with that scenario, and they were superb, Josh. Their domination through the middle of the ground was so impressive. Their skipper, Connor Rosie, just ran a mark and was brilliant. 3 goals, 2, 36 disposals, 5 clearances, 7 inside 50s, 8 score involvements. If that doesn't paint enough of a picture, if you get a chance and you haven't watched the game, just watch some of his highlights, the way he was able to power away from opposition. But you spoke a number of times that Jason Horne-Francis was just as good with him, particularly after quarter time. His power from the stoppages and the clearances just opened everything up for the power and gave their forwards some good looks.
Absolutely, it did, Linging. And even just looking at how the game unfolded, and I know we used words like embarrassing and it's just not good enough, and Essendon fans will be disillusioned by what they saw tonight, but at quarter time, we actually had a contest on our hands, didn't we? And just some of the notes I wrote down, the tackling pressure of Essendon was outstanding. What they were able to do was they were able to guard the corridor and clog up the corridor so Port Adelaide couldn't get their ball movement going and be aggressive through the middle of the ground. And unfortunately, after that, it was pretty much one-way traffic. Port Adelaide dominated field position in that second quarter. Brad Scott, no doubt, at half-time would have been asking for a response and unfortunately didn't get it. And the final margin of 69 points is probably appropriate for how the game unfolded.
Yeah, and there's a reason why, not just because you and I were both midfielders, but we talk about the midfield so much. Because of that domination from Port, it put the Essendon defenders on the back foot. They became really proactive and obviously highlighted at the end of the second quarter by a horrible little mistake where no one wanted to go for the ball. But it also meant the Port Adelaide defenders could get really proactive.
Yep.
So we started seeing Alir and Radigalia set up exactly where they wanted to be. Houston, who they were trying to keep a little bit quiet, the Bombers started running and creating. Bergman started getting on the end of it. They knew that they could take up really proactive positioning because chances are their midfield was going to be getting the clearance in the first place, and so they could be really strong with their starting position. So right across the ground, that domination through the centre meant every Port player was feeling pretty good about themselves.
And I think further to that, too, Lingy, is even just looking at the numbers, so the clearance count for the game were 19-6 purely based on centre bounce. They kicked 4 goals, 2 from those centre bounce clearances as well, which is a huge number. But once again, in the modern game and the way the game has been played in recent years, field position is everything. And if you can get deep entries from centre bounce and then lock the ball in your front half, that's going a long way to actually being able to put enough pressure on the opposition to generate enough score and create that scoreboard pressure, which Port did superbly.
And probably the most disappointing thing for me, if I'm looking at it from the Bombers' perspective, coming here tonight thinking we're going to get a really good contest, the Bombers, they're getting better and better, they're going to take a step, was the performance of, not of their really young players, and they're going, Harry Jones is going to be in and out of the game still. It was their key leadership players, key midfielders, key players who have got enough footy under their belt. I thought Andy McGrath was really disappointing. Number 1 draft pick, need him to jump up and against good opposition really take the game by the scruff of the neck. Didn't see it at all. Darcy Parish had one of the worst games I've seen him play. He couldn't find the footy, 21 touches in the end. When he did, he made mistakes. And at times, at stoppages, he was the one responsible for Horne-Francis.
Yeah.
And Horne-Francis destroyed him, had the 10 clearances, had, I think, 13 first possessions. And throw in Jake Stringer. I know you could make the argument they didn't get a heap of supply down there, only 43 inside 50s. But we expect more of him because he's an experienced player, high-quality player, good money, all of that. When the ball came into his area, it needed to live in their forward line a little bit longer rather than just getting swept away. So I look at those sort of key players and think, come on, if this group's going to take a jump, it's got to be driven by you. Zach Merritt's doing everything he can right now. 36 disposals again, 7 clearances, tried his guts out. You can't just leave it to him.
They're not quite top yet, but they're third on the ladder as it sits at the moment. Port Adelaide, so 3-1 on the back of their 69-point win tonight. They've been out on the ground so long, Port Adelaide, waiting for the media commitments to finish, that the PA announcers are playing the song for a second time. So it's ringing out around the speakers, and the boys are about to sing it down in the Port Adelaide rooms. We're about to drop by with Aaron Bryans. Port Adelaide by 69 points in the finish, 17-9, 1-11 over Essendon 6-6-42. And after the Bombers led at time on in the first quarter, Port kicked 15 goals to 3 thereafter. So it was a drubbing for the last 3 quarters. Aaron Bryans, let me start that again. Aaron Bryans is in the winners' rooms. Port by 69. As
we got there, Corby. Fairly timid winners' rooms, considering we had 47,000 in the house. But a scatter of applause as the Power faithful make their way into the rooms, eyeing off what would be a 4th finals campaign in 5 seasons, and fairly bullish after the start that they've had. Travis Boak looking in better nick as well as the nights progressed. He's starting to move a little bit more with speed. That being said, he's still looking, around a 4 or 5 kilometre an hour movement, but he's certainly getting some pep in his step after that knee in the back. Let's have a listen to the song. As I mentioned, Corby, a fairly low energy in the room at the moment. The song wasn't sung with too much gusto. Obviously a fair bit of enjoyment after that victory, but obviously a long season ahead, and Port Adelaide don't seem to be getting too ahead of themselves at this stage.
Just business-like tonight for Port Adelaide. 69 points in the finish. Thanks, Aaron. We'll be back to you in a moment. So since the start of 2023, they've now won 20 games against... they've now won 20 games. 15 of those have been against bottom 10 teams, and only 5 of them have been against top 8 sides. So that's a question you can't answer tonight when you come up against Essendon. You can't control who you play, Josh, but they made the most of what they got tonight and ended up winning comfortably.
Well, and that's a really good point, though, because I think if you look at Port Adelaide, I think supporters will go away content. Yeah, you know what, we come here, gather around, beat Essendon, tick that box. Port won't be judged until September.
Yeah.
Yep. But they couldn't do and can't do any more than they did tonight.
That's exactly right. No, and you're right. Teams that have been there, and I think you could attest to this as well, when you've been deep into finals,
yep,
and you've fallen short, and you've what ifs and all of that, you know that really you're not going to be judged, and you're not going to judge yourselves until you get back to that same situation and you handle it better, and you eventually get over that opposition that you've been dying to get over, and obviously that's how you boys won your flag, knocking off Brisbane.
Yeah.
You had to put yourself back there, being tested in the ultimate games, prelim finals and grand finals. So that's Port Adelaide's test. That's what they've got to do. But along that journey, they've got to keep winning games, and they've got to keep fronting up. And tonight's performance was just an outstanding performance. They gave Essendon nothing. They didn't let Essendon score. They didn't let Essendon move the ball. They moved the ball with some fluency. Their A-graders completely took the game over, and I know I did say the Cousins-Judd Kirk thing, but that is what they can be. They are that good. Notice, just in case listeners think I'm getting too ahead of myself, I didn't ever say it was like a Black, Lappin, Vosak and Manis group. That's a little jump. That's in many, many years to come. But that, quite seriously, that type West Coast type A-plus grade midfield that they had in the mid-2000s, that's what that group can get to. They are that good.
They are. And the attribute they have, which they have in spades, and it stands out, is the speed.
Yeah.
Speed. And if you're a young lad out there watching the game of footy, and, speed kills, if you want to use that language. But tonight we saw that it did. And the explosiveness of the Horn Francises. And a guy like, again, I know this sounds like the Connor Rosie fan club up here at the moment, but I've never seen a guy who would weigh 85 kilos max, but has the confidence to be able to break tackles, and his core strength. He's just a star.
We're not allowed to know anymore, by the way. Sorry? We're not allowed to know anymore.
No.
Can't
fair call.
Got to be 0 kilos. But it's funny you say about speed. Willem Drew, we wouldn't put in that same group as leg speed, but his speed of his decision-making and his skill execution means that straight away one of his teammates is put into a great position at speed. So that can complement that group as well.
Zach Butters is just about my favourite player in the game. And you make the point about having so many of them. So you get to the end of the night and you look at the stat sheet and the top three for Port Adelaide again. Rosie, 36, Horne-Francis, 31, Butters, 26. And it wasn't even Butters' best night that he's had in the competition. He's obviously set a very high standard for himself, but you can't cover all of them. So all of a sudden, you put attention into Rosie, the other two get off the chain, you try and lock down on Butters, and then tonight we see, Rosie and Horne-Francis able to work in the fashion that they did. So that is clearly Port Adelaide's strength, isn't it, to be able to have those three guys coming into their physical prime. Port Adelaide by 69 points. Friday night footy on ABC Sport. Our ABC Sport experts Josh Franco and Cameron Lang, Corbin Middlemass and Clint Wilden.
Can I chuck another one at you? And we're quite rightly lauding those three. But when they get it all done there, to have the tools and then someone, hand on heart, I miss watching every second week, is what Willie Rioli can do to a side. The class that he shows, the ability at times to conjure up goals. How on earth does he kick that? And then to be unselfish when required as well.
Yeah.
But how much does he, and he's fit again, which he wasn't even before the drug issue hit, the last year, and even when he first came across the Perth, but he looks absolutely ripping fit again.
The thing about Rioli as well, and I remember going to Alberton Oval early last year during their pre-season, and I watched them do it to match him. As I said, I watched him, I knew he was, obviously, and he's a star at West Coast, but he was having the ball 70 metres out, and he's actually almost pointing to the forwards to say, go there, that's where the space is, that's where I'm picking it, rather than reacting to a forward leading, and I think I sort of mentioned that throughout the call, but his game sense, his awareness, his goal sense, he's phenomenal.
And players like that, when they're up and about and flying, they almost create this vacuum effect at the front of stoppages. So he's so dangerous that he'll flash through, not necessarily get it every single time, but 2 or 3 defenders will react to him and follow through with him, which leaves this little pocket of space behind for Burn-Jones or McEntee or anyone like that to swoop into, and all of a sudden they think, hang on, how did I get this much space in the forward line? And they pop through a goal, and so that's what that player the effect they can have. But combine it with the fact they've got other players who are putting on a whole lot of defensive pressure too. It becomes a really multifaceted forward line.
Absolutely. We talked about their midfield. We talked about their forward line. One of their real strengths we haven't even spoken about is their 3 running half-backs in Burton, Farrell and Houston that just set up the whole play from their D50.
Yep.
They're phenomenal as well. And their ability to use the ball and take risks back through the corridor, which is always, I guess, that balance, because if you turn it over in there, it can come back with interest. But when they get it right, and we talked about the marks that Port Adelaide have taken inside their forward 50, I think they're number 1 in the comp at the moment. You can see why, because when it unfolds and there's speed on the ball and there's a 1v1 inside their forward 50 with space, good luck defending it.
Connor Rosie, outstanding with 36 disposals and 3 goals. He had 20 in 3 at half time. So what a night for the Port Adelaide captain at just 24 years of age. 36 disposal night for him. In the end, Port Adelaide winning the match by 69 points. The Power bounced back after last week's loss, so they're 3-1 on the season, while for Essendon they fall to 2-2. Night soured by a hamstring injury to Archie Perkins, while for Port Adelaide, Travis Boak, their veteran, picked up a back injury. This is Friday Night Footy on ABC Sport. Reaction from the Port Adelaide rooms to come in just a moment. Your thoughts off the SMS on 0437 774 774. Corbin Middlemass and Clint Wilden, alongside our ABC Sport experts, Josh Franco and Cameron Ling. From Daniel in Darwin, hi guys, great call, would love to be there, but the hotels were gouging. Gather round is a great idea, but it won't last if service providers continue to charge unreasonable prices. Short-term profit taking will undermine long-term gains. Gains, that is G-A-I-N-S, not gains. We've had a game here tonight. Port Adelaide by 69 points. They win wide. Into the winners' rooms with Aaron Bryant.
With the Port Adelaide skipper Connor Rosie. Connor, an emphatic win in front of 47,000 fans. Tell us how you're feeling.
Yeah, it's obviously nice to get the 4 points. We felt like, I guess we played probably 3.5 quarters of good footy last week, and coming into this game, it was probably just how long we can sustain that pressure and that effort, and it felt like we put together a good 4-quarter performance tonight.
We laughed about it a bit in the pre-season. How does a 2-time All-Australian get better? And tonight you were so damaging with your disposal all around the ground and your leadership. How are you finding your game right now?
Yeah, there's still a lot that I can improve on, that's for sure. I'm only 24 and I feel like there's heaps of parts of my game that I've been working on over the off-season with Kari and our mids coach and all the other mids, but I guess just pushing myself to go to another level, and our group's really good at, I guess, having high expectations for each other. So, yeah, we're gelling really good together. It's nice to have Ivan in there and Horn Francis back tonight as well, and I feel like we're gelling really good together.
Tell us a bit about the Hornet, because he's shown glimpses across the first 2 years of what he's going to become, but tonight felt like a game-breaking moment, maybe a career-defining one.
Yeah, he's going to be some player, I think, and I think sometimes we forget how young he is, and he's got a mature head on his shoulders, and he's probably been through a little bit already with North Melbourne stuff and coming over here, so he's matured really quickly, and yeah, I feel like he's going to be such an important part of this club for the next 10, 15 years.
Throw it upstairs to the boys. Corbin Middlemouse, Clint Wilden, Cameron Ling, and also Josh Franco.
G'day, Connor, Josh Franco here. Just I guess firstly, congratulations on your game. Absolutely outstanding. And I guess throughout the course of the call, time and time again, the centre bounce work of Port Adelaide, obviously led by yourself, Zach Butters, Jason Horn-Francis, and your ability to explode out the front and get those deep entries put Essendon under maximum pressure. So I guess the question is, going into the game, was that a big focus going in and an area you thought you could take advantage of Essendon?
To be honest, not really. We felt like they've got a really good midfield. Draper and Goldson in the ruck have been really, really good over the first couple of weeks. So our mindset was probably get our body work done, outnumber around the contest, and we'll get our looks off of that. They're definitely an outnumbered team. Parish and Merritt just turn up to every contest, and we feel like holding our shape was probably the way to go tonight. And they brought the pressure early. The first quarter was hot, really, and I felt like once we were able to get it outside of that bubble, especially from centre bounce, then we were able to get some good looks going forward.
Connor, well done on the game. Fantastic performance. You talk about getting that outside the bubble. It felt like it was you often getting forward after a clearance. Were you surprised by how effective that was and how much room at times you had as you were entering forward 50?
A little bit, I guess. Like I said before, they're an outnumbered team, so if you can be a little bit ballsy and hold your shape and not go forward too quickly, but just hold the shape on the outside. We trust our guys on the inside, Horn Francis, Butters, Drew, to win that hard ball. And yeah, I guess some people look at it as cheating sometimes, but it's part of our game plan. We want to be an attacking side that holds shape on the outside and has trust that our other midfielders will get it done.
No cheating at all. It was a supreme performance. One player who we've been talking about a lot throughout the night was Willie Rioli and his impact on the game, but also how dangerous he looked at all times and how fit he looked tonight, really covering the ground so well. Did you sense that over pre-season, that he'd really put in the work and was ready for a big year?
Yeah, definitely. We had a lot come back with that sort of mindset. We had obviously a pretty upsetting end to the end of last season, and he was definitely one that came back with that sort of mindset that he was going to come and almost looking career best shape at the start of the season, and he's shown that over the first 3 or 4 games now. So yeah, he's such an important part of our forward line. We've got those pressure players down there with Sam Pepe to come back as well, but he just adds that little bit of extra class down there. He's so efficient, and he's a really important part of our forward line.
Clint Wilden here. I'm really curious. It's a rare opportunity gather round for the non-Victorian teams to actually go along and have a look at your opponents in the next coming weeks or so. And you've got Fremantle next week. Do you turn up as a group tomorrow to watch them at Adelaide Oval? Or you just do what you would normally do? How does it work for you guys?
We'll have a pretty similar outlook to what we have most weeks. I'm sure there'll be a couple of boys that have got not much on that might head to the footy tomorrow. I haven't got anything planned at this stage, but yeah, there'll be no, I guess, rules put in place to be at the game tomorrow. I'm sure there'll be some boys that love their footy and will watch every game of the weekend, but I'll probably be putting my feet up and watching on the couch, I think.
So I was going to ask, are you like the rest of us, and you're not a footy nuffy? I would go to every game if I could. Would you just do that, or you just got better things to do, which I could understand if you're a professional?
Yeah, to be honest, like, growing up, I was probably one that would watch every game of the weekend, but I think when you're around football every single day and you're watching edits and that sort of stuff, you probably enjoy those moments to get away from it a little bit. I'm a big Premier League soccer fan, so I'll probably watch 3 or 4 games of that rather than football over the weekend and try and get my mind off it a little bit.
Well, who do you follow?
I'm a Liverpool man, so pretty happy.
Right, I'm walking out of the box. As an Evertonian, that's it.
Connor Rosie with us on ABC Sport, the Power by 69 points. Is that the best half of footy you've ever played, Connor? 20 and 3 to half time?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen exactly what the stats and that sort of stuff was, but it felt like our midfield was getting a really good look at it, and I think Ivan Soldo's made a massive difference to our whole midfield group since he's come in. We're so much more proactive, and I think as much as our midfield group is attacking, we'll keep gelling, and we've got so far to improve.
Far too humble. I think that was as good a half of footy we've seen from any player in a long time, and you're the league's youngest captain at 24. How have you handled that? I think you're about to become a father, so congratulations on that. How have you handled the off-season with a long-term extension and such a young age, the added responsibility, and still able to come out and put on a display like that?
Yeah, there's definitely some different challenges that come with leadership, and we've got a whole new leadership group. All 5 of us are new to being in the leadership group, and I think that's the most exciting part. Our club is going through a little bit of a change at the moment, and we've added some youth to our leaders, and I guess we're just so excited to drive this group forward and hopefully take us to that next step.
Can I just ask you on that leadership theme, Connor, how do you approach... We were discussing before the fact that as a club and as a team that's been almost right at that pointy end in multiple seasons, prelim finals, deep into finals, that you really only judge yourselves on when you're back in that situation, a prelim final or hopefully ultimately a grand final, and how you handle it. But you have to win lots and lots of games along that journey to get yourselves back in that situation. How have you as a leader and a leadership group made sure you narrow the focus down to this is the important time, rather than thinking about, gee, we really want to redeem ourselves at the end of the year?
Yeah, it's a good question, to be honest, because I probably ummed and ahed, especially over the off-season, about just wanting to get back to finals as quickly as possible and change, I guess, how it ended at the end of last year. So it can be challenging to sort of change your mindset to put yourself in that position again, and it's so tough. This competition's so close that to be in the top 4 and the top 8 is so challenging, and you really can't take your foot off the pedal. So that's definitely been a focus of Ken's and mine over the first month or so, and probably will be for the next few weeks, is to not take any game that we're just going to rock up and win. Any team has shown that they can beat pretty much any team on their day. That's been shown with Brisbane and Collingwood with their starts of the season, and some other sides who've won some games that they probably wouldn't have thought. So, yeah, it's about trying to, I guess, motivate the group and to get them in the mindset of every week is so important, and it can be a challenge to get to that end of the season, but we have to get there first.
Last one from me, Connor. What did it mean to the group to see what Mitch Georgiades could do on his return to football? Has had to wait nearly 350 days after the ACL, but to come back, have the game that he played, kick 2 goals, have 15 disposals, 4 marks inside forward 50. What did it mean to all of you to see that?
Yeah, it means so much. Mitch is such an important part of our group on and off the field. If you know anything about Mitch, he's such a lovable character, and everyone just wants the best for him. So to see him come back, and we were all so excited just to have him back in the side, but to see him turn up with the confidence and to be jumping at the ball like he did before he did his injury is just absolutely amazing. And hopefully he can keep doing that, because he's going to be an important part going forward.
We love watching you play, Connor. Appreciate a few minutes of your time, and congratulations on the win tonight.
No worries, guys. Thanks for having me.
Connor Rozee, the captain of the Port Adelaide Football Club, carrying around the weight of that famous number 1 on his back at the Power. So 3-1. He finished with a 3-1 the Power. He finished with 36 disposals, a career high, and 3 goals. Connor Rozee in a best of field display.
Lingy, one from left field. Rozee, Butters, Horn Francis, young guys. Obviously, the AFL season is a long season.
Yep.
I know Chris Scott at Geelong rotates their older players, and he's quite open in saying that. Do you ever roll the dice and to protect a Rozee and a Butters or a Horn Francis who's just come back from a hamstring? And obviously, all due respect to the opposition sides, but after 7 or 8 rounds, do you see who are the bottom sort of side you come up against them and give them a spell, because it's a long year?
I think you have to.
Yeah,
definitely. You want Connor Rozee gliding across that ground like he was tonight in September.
Yep.
And if that means being really clever around the bye week and the split rounds and utilising an extra break for him there, then that's great. But if it's And they do so much testing now. You'd know this even better than me, where they test during the week of how they've recovered, jump squat testing and grip strength testing and urine testing and everything, weights, all of that to work out, almost to try and flag, hang on, there might, just a little something's coming. There's a little down thing. They've lost a bit of energy. Maybe they're at risk of a soft tissue injury. Maybe they're a little bit run down. Their immune system's low. So they've got to monitor that really carefully. And if they sense that at all, absolutely.
Yep.
Those guys are so important. That's their premiership out there. Is
100%.
Is that group. If they are flying across the ground in September, that group can win a premiership. If they are struggling as though they're running through quicksand in September, well, then they're just back in the pack and probably not going to go on with it.
A pair of similar games tonight. We'll get back to that in just a moment. Port by 69 points, so 17-9, 111 over Essendon, 6-6-42. So Port by 69 here. It was 17 goals to 6. Over at Norwood, it was Brisbane 16 goals to 6, won by 70 points over North Melbourne. So 16-16, 112. North Melbourne 6-6-42. So similar games decided by 1 point the difference. Brisbane by 70 and Port Adelaide by 69 here tonight. Corbin Middlemass, Clint Weldon, Cameron Ling and Josh Franco on ABC Sport.
I was going to follow up with, so you're Ken Hinkley. Have you got the courage to pull the trigger on that throughout the course of the season in terms of managing the A-graders, the absolute elite?
I think, Ken does. He's been around long enough. He also is smart enough to know that ultimately him and his coaching and everything is now being judged on their performance in finals. So get players fresh for finals. And Chris Scott, as you mentioned him, is one of the best at doing that. That comes with the confidence of having been to finals.
True.
And in Chris's case, winning premierships as a coach, he can say, okay, well, I can risk dropping that one random game there because I know it's going to help us in the long run. It also highlights the point how important it is to bank wins early on. If you're the Brisbane Lions, 0-3 initially, obviously winning today, or Collingwood started 0-3, Geelong last year 0-3, it takes away that bit of an element to risk a game mid-year because you desperately need that game to jump into finals.
This is ABC Sport, full-time Port Adelaide by 69 over Essendon. They're in a stretch here, Port Adelaide, huge month in April where they play 5 games, 4 of them at home. So 4 of their next 5 at home for Port Adelaide. So a huge chance to try and get off to a good start here. They tick the box against Essendon tonight. They play Fremantle at home next Saturday. Their only away game in the run is against Collingwood, who haven't started the season all that crash hot. St Kilda back at home, and then the first showdown of the year in round 8. And as we know, the Crows are no great shakes in 2024 so far.
No, that is a good run. I mean, I think they'll never admit this. They'll be kicking themselves about last week because I thought they had done enough to win that one. I think we dominated every statistical area except the scoreboard and lost to Melbourne. But yeah, they could. You think they knock St Kilda off? They probably knock Freo off. Adelaide, as you said, the way they're going, there's 3 wins, and Collingwood at the MCG. Well, are Collingwood back to full form by then, or are they still spluttering a little bit? It's a good patch to set up their season beautifully. To be able to do everything that you've just been asking about, Charles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rosie, Horn-Francis and Butters all top the stat sheet. So Rosie with 36, Horn-Francis with 31, Butters with 26, and then 3 goals each for 4 different players. Rosie with 3, Finlayson with 3, Rioli and Burne-Jones all kicked 3 for Port Adelaide. It was a rough night for the Bombers. We'll get to them in just a moment.
I was about to ask about the Bombers, something about supporting teams that are EFC. Why are they so unbelievably frustrating? As one of their supporters, is there a longer, and I'll chuck Fremantle into this group, is there a longer suffering group of fans? Because every time it appears that there's about to be a little change here, you get a performance like that.
And I know Brad Scott's preaching patience, and a lot of Essendon fans don't have much of it, but there's no shortcuts in this game. And I don't know, I probably had low expectations as an Essendon supporter, so I felt like it wasn't going to turn around dramatically for them, but they were in this game up into their eyeballs early in the second quarter, and then to fall away like that, it looked as if they rolled over and they got their tummies tickled tonight. And that is probably the worst part as a supporter and as an Essendon person.
And that's what I said during it, like 3 goals at quarter time, and they had a red-hot crack. And then they kicked 3 goals for the remainder, for 3 quarters of football. And there were long periods where they just weren't in the contest.
And
so what on earth do they do about that?
To add on to that is the fact that everyone said, well, every game's the same. You've got to turn up and play. I don't fully subscribe to that. There are some times when you're on display and it's Friday night football, Adelaide Oval, gather round, all the fuss, all the hullabaloo about this round, and you're on the prime time.
This is the marquee game of the round. The late Friday night footy game, this is the one that matters. The whole nation, the football nation tunes in to watch this, and you serve that up.
And I don't know, this could be being too harsh. Hindsight's 2020. Was last week's win that good? When no Max King, Liam Henry, Mason Wood also out for St Kilda, was it just a win? And maybe we got a little bit ahead of ourselves. I don't know. That could be being too harsh because they came from behind.
And they had a high pressure rating, which was, I know, with champion data and the numbers and everything else, but it is hard to string those together back to back. Shorter week for them with travel, not to try and build in an excuse, but I think the question around this team for a long time is they've got a generational skipper at the moment who's one of the best captains in the game in Zach Merritt, who's had no success, and it absolutely eats at him that this is a guy that hates to lose more than he likes to win, which is what motivates all the great champions. But the question for a long time has been, has he got anyone that can go with him? Is there anyone in this Essendon team that's going to bring it week after week the same way that he does? And tonight, again, it's Merritt up the top with 36, 13 of them contested, 7 clearances, 7 inside 50s. He did his bit. And then who next tonight if you're trying to pick winners for Essendon across the park?
No, I mean, you could look at the stat sheet and say Nick Martin again at 35, but there was cheapies in those. I mean, he still had to get it, but good on him. But not from the players that I think really needed to and matter and are the ones who are going to drive it forward and set the example for the young players. There was not enough help for him.
Other thing from my point of view too, I've written Goldstein and Draper. Does that work?
Does it work? Yeah, good question.
You take two ruck, the days of taking 2 ruckmen into a game, I'm not sure. Melbourne tried it last year, it didn't work with Grundy and Gawn.
Well, Port,
I reckon it worked.
Port had Soldo as number 1 and Finlayson as the backup.
Yep.
Finlayson goes forward and kicks 3 goals.
Yeah.
So that combo works. It's more a forward doing it rather than 2 genuine ruckmen.
And I'm really fascinated with how Fremantle have started the season when they've got the 1 genuine ruck at the moment in Jackson. How will that change? Because Sean Darcy is an amazing ruck, but how will that change when they have 2? I know they like to play Jackson forward, but they're rucks.
Yeah.
Both of them are rucks. So with one of them out, they actually play better, and they're 3 and zip, and got an awesome game coming up against Carlton tomorrow.
They just got a lot of guys, Essendon, don't know, where it's when the going's good, they're involved and everyone's getting a lick of the ice cream, and when the chips are down, it feels like it's the same cats that are trying to sort of push it forward for the Bombers. So Zach Merritt with 36 disposal led the way and again did his bit defensively, but whether the rest of the guys aren't there yet or whether they're never going to get there. You mentioned guys like Parrish and McGrath, who are their senior guys, didn't have good nights, but it's probably more looking at that next rung of players and guys that are 2 or 3, 4 years into the system now. They have those 3 top picks from a couple of years ago. Reed's always injured. Perkins got hurt tonight. Cox is getting some consistent footy here. Ben Hobbs is another one who's recently in. So it was another poor night for Essendon.
I'm a believer in Cox, Perkins, obviously, Hobbs, Jones. Unfortunately, you're right. We haven't seen enough of Zach Reed to get a gauge on him. I'm a believer in those guys, and I think if your A graders were playing at their very, very best at Essendon, then those players just become they are learning their craft, supported by really good senior players playing great football. Tonight, it's Zach Merritt leading the way, and then a big gap, and then those younger players who we're referring to, Hobbs and Cox and all of them, Jones, we expect more from them. Oh, hang on, they should be stepping up. Well, no, I kind of think even with 15, 20, 25, 30 games under their belt, they should almost just be getting swept along by the top-end performances of the best players. Parrish, Stringer, McGrath, they've all got to be playing better, and then those players go along with that.
So if I look at the injured list, is it giving them a cop-out to say Ridley back in a week or 2, Shield back in a week or 2, Wright won't be back until round 7, and you mentioned Reed, who we'd like to actually get a chance to see more of. If they're all introduced, are they enough? Is that a critical mass to make the Bombers more competitive?
Ridley's huge.
Yep.
Absolutely. I don't deny that. Peter Wright is crucial to the way their forward line works, and I think if Wright played, you could almost you get rid of the ruckman.
Yep.
The fact is, Dylan Shield hasn't stepped up in. I could put him in the. I could have used his name tonight in place of Parrish and McGrath and all that. Constantly, we're saying he gets on the end of some beautiful ones and things are working perfectly. But when they're not in a game like this, I'm not thinking he's going to be the one who grabs the game.
The Western Bulldogs on Friday night for the Bombers now. Then they come back to Adelaide to play the Crows in a fortnight. It's another Friday night fixture, so bright lights for the Bombers there. And then Anzac Day against the Pies, and who knows what that game's going to look like from both teams' perspectives by the time we get there in round 6. Port Adelaide wide tonight. They win by 69 points over the Bombers. Meanwhile, down on the parade at Norwood, it was Brisbane by 70 points over North Melbourne. So 2 lopsided games Friday of gather round. And last night, of course, Melbourne by 15 points over the Crows. Sweeter games to come, 3 tomorrow, 3 on Sunday. We'll get to them in just a moment. I'm just interested in the North Melbourne perspective out of the result tonight at Norwood. So Alistair Clarkson spoke to the media after the game. It's another heavy defeat for his team, one in which they only kicked 6 goals. So where do you find the positives if you're Alistair Clarkson? Here's what he had to say a short time ago.
We just know we've got to put in the time and the hard yards and not lose faith, you know. And that's what was pleasing in the second half. You know, we reset ourselves and just made it much more of a contest in the second half. And we had some good things to come out of the game. With Combin playing his first game back for 12 months, and we've decided to play him back despite CJ going down with that Achilles. It would have been so easy just to push him forward and have him play that role, but we've trained him as a back all summer, and he looked really, really accomplished in the back end of the ground. And so there's, Tom Power got an opportunity to, Lachie Neale just had a terrific first quarter and a half, and we put Powley to him in the third quarter just to try and quiet his influence, and Powley'd never sort of done that role before, and he was having a quiet first half himself. So there's just little things that little wins that we have along the way that will just help us in the long run. It doesn't help us win a game of footy right now, unfortunately, but we've got to keep trying to find the little silver lining to the occasional dark clouds that we're going to endure across this path, and try to get better as we go along.
Tough sell for the Roos. They lose by 70 points here. What is interesting, I think, leading into the season, that the 3 teams down the bottom looked a fair way off it. So you could probably say, look, there's as many as 15 teams, if you want to really stretch it out with Richmond and Essendon, to say they're all in the mix to make the 8. But no one was putting Hawthorn or North Melbourne and West Coast in there.
No.
None of them play each other until round 6. So I know that they manipulate the draw all the time for everything. Like, why wouldn't you play the development teams against each other early, give them a win, try and build a little bit of interest around them? And yet now we've basically got 3 irrelevant teams down the bottom that are all going to be 0-5 by the time they essentially play each other. So North Melbourne and Hawthorn meet for the first time in round 6, but it just seemed like a no-brainer that they have done in recent years, by the way, where those lowly teams down the bottom have started against one another, and we missed a trick with the fixture this year.
I think that's where their focus lay in those years you're talking about. I think their focus shifted to the New South Wales, Queensland audiences and growing that, seeing that as the big growth areas. So they shifted their focus to, let's get opening round right, let's make sure the structure of the buys, and it went away from that. What we're going to end up with is, 3 very, very poor teams. Mind you, though, North Melbourne and Hawthorn will pinch games throughout the year. They're capable of a dangerous little game here and there. West Coast aren't. No. I know they won't lose every game for the year before West Coast fans go jumping up and down at me, but West Coast are way, way, way behind those other 2 teams.
So if we're putting them in categories, you've got the 15 up the top, then daylight, then 2, then more daylight.
Then some more daylight. Is that fair, Clint?
Remember the line from Moneyball? There's the Yankees, then there's everybody else, and then there's 50 foot of something, and then there's us. That's the Oakland A's or the West Coast Eagles from those days. That's where they are. And bring on round 13 for Eagles fans when they got North Melbourne. I was dead set. Your comment just then, you were listening to Sports Talk the other week about why aren't they putting these all together, except you weren't because you're on air.
Well, as I would say, great minds think alike, but as Ben Cameron often tells me, maybe fools never differ.
Yeah, I'll take the second one.
We'll roll with that. Brisbane by 70 points. Joe Danaher kicked 5 and Eric Hipwood kicked 3 against an inexperienced key defence of North Melbourne. It felt like a good styles matchup for Brisbane, and it was a get-right spot for them. So 3 for Hugh McCluggage, 2 for Lachie Neale, 1 for Joe Danaher. Here tonight it was lopsided again. Port Adelaide by 69 over Essendon. What we do need to do is get the votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year. This is usually your role, Lingy.
Is this my one? Okay, well, there we go.
I was about to say, have you guys distributed who's going to do them? Josh is quite happy to handle
I was going to do the 2 hard ones, the 3 and the 2, and hand over the
I was going to try and do the same thing to you right then. The obvious one for me to go for the 1 vote seems like Zach Butters, but I'm just going to pivot a little bit. I want to give some love to Jeremy